Well, this is gonna be fun.
I'm mad. Yeah.
Disclaimer.
This is gonna be a long one.
This is gonna be a long one. B, I'm not. This is mostly gonna be Muha. I have my own things to say about this movie.
I hope you have responses and we can talk about.
I do, because I've read your responses and then further.
You read some of them.
Some of them.
Wow, that escalated.
Okay.
Sorry.
Like, dude, I'm on your side on this.
I know. It's just okay. So, what's your disclaimer?
Mostly the fact that you're gonna have a lot more to say about this than I do. I guess to go over just our general thoughts about Star Wars in general. I mean, it's very, very briefly.
Sure, but it's not like that's an entirely new concept for some of these reviews.
Okay, fair enough. I guess it's more like
I get really mad. You just get like, this sucked, and it was for these reasons. I'm like, no.
I think it's more okay.
You're level-headed.
I guess so.
Criticism. I am just angry most of the time. I think the times that we've been the most on the same page was like, just in terms of tone, was like Exodus, and 50 Shades of Black, just because we were both defeated.
Oh my god, I forgot about.
We were both just in such a defeated mode of like, oh, well, this was bad. Oh yeah, and well, Robin Hood, we agreed, but I definitely was much more animated. I remembered more of the movie than you did, I think.
You know how much I forgot about Robin Hood? I
rewatched it. I broke some friends.
I thought when you said Robin Hood, I legitimately thought you meant the Russell Crowe movie. And I was like, wait, that came out before we started doing this.
I broke some friends. There was a point during one showing where we stopped it 2/3 of the way through, and this one girl just started laughing maniacally because she just couldn't handle everything that had happened.
So cats.
And then in the middle of her laughing, I was like, there's 40 minutes left, right? And she went like,
oh, damn.
Yeah, no, it was great.
I just still remember that one guy, rubbish.
Rubbish! Yeah, anyway.
So,
classics.
So, I guess disclaimers, as far as our opinions on Star Wars, because you really did have to go a little into that to really talk about this movie.
Of course, yeah.
I'm gonna try to keep the first 5-10 minutes spoiler free before we jump into it.
Of course, no. And spoilers for previous Star Wars movies. Vader is Luke's father. But
as far as Star Wars goes, you and I are actually pretty much on the same page.
Yeah,
in terms of what we think about it.
I know that some people are going to be straight up turned off by just the immediate knowledge of my thoughts on Star Wars.
Yeah.
I did not like The Force Awakens. I thought it was bland. I thought it was hacky. I thought the writing fell flat. I thought there were barely any character arcs. I just thought it was amateurish on all fronts. It was okay at best. But The Last Jedi is, in my opinion, the best Star Wars movie up there with Empire.
Wait, don't leave yet. Come back.
Yeah, right. And this comes purely from a filmmaking standpoint. It took all these things. I know that a lot of people are mad because it didn't give them what they wanted, but that's specifically why I liked it. Mm-hmm. But it did it in ways that made sense for the characters and actually challenged them and evolved them. It makes sense to me that Luke tossed the lightsaber at the beginning because he left all that behind for a reason. What they did with Kylo in that movie was fantastic. The way they developed his character. I liked the way that they kind of made Rey more of an ambiguous character. The way that Luke develops over the film and rediscovers his purpose makes sense. The way that Poe... I would like anyone who has a real problem with how Poe was treated in The Last Jedi to talk to anyone who's actually been in the military. And see what they think about how someone like that would be treated, because that is absolutely on point, and it's exactly the reason why I didn't like how they portrayed him in The Force Awakens, because it was like, somebody like that is going to get put in their place. They will get fucking people killed. He had the wrong priorities when it came to how to approach, fighting the Empire or the First Order. And
I mean, same thing, really.
Yeah, I don't know. I just there were a lot of decisions. Maybe you have problems with the way the movie was put together, but the way the character beats worked in that movie, I thought were really well constructed. And anyone who had a problem with Leia force pulling herself back to the ship, if they let anything in Rise of Skywalker pass, has no fucking place to talk about any of that being out of range.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. But yeah, I love The Last Jedi. I really do.
And I guess it's going on my own thing there. It's like, I did like The Force Awakens. I don't think it's got great by any stretch of imagination. It was like, all right, I enjoyed it. It was fun. Like, it was kind of a reset button for the Star Wars franchise at that point.
It was fine.
It was fine. Like, it wasn't great. It was entertaining for what it was. Well, you and I both love The Last Jedi. I thought The Last Jedi was a great movie, and I'm still amazed that people are still fucking mad about that movie.
Yeah, I still don't understand how people can look at that and not think that it was a well-made movie, because it's like, very deliberate and well thought out.
And it was like, and I can understand like not liking the direction it went into, not liking the decision. It's like, sure, but like objectively, you can still make the argument, whether you liked it or not, that The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi are still well-made movies.
Yeah.
At their core.
And I think The Last Jedi just had more, it was more creative.
It had more things to say.
And personally, I know at the time, I've spoken to people who thought that the reveal that Rey's parents were nobody was really fucked up, and they hated it, and it
I love that twist.
No, I loved it. Because the thing about that is that it re-democratized the Force. It made the Force into something that, you know, it originally was. It belongs to anybody. It could manifest in anybody. The whole idea of midichlorians was bullshit by the Jedi Order. If you actually go back and look at the prequels, the Jedi Order is a cult-like Gestapo of the Proto-Empire. It is... The whole point is that the Jedi Order is wrong, and their fucking mistakes are what created Anakin Skywalker. And turned him into Darth Vader. That's the whole point of it. And I really like that about the prequels. It is much darker when it's looked at like that, even though, you know, structurally, technically, they're weaker movies. The pacing is a mess. The acting's a mess. They're a mess. But
do you like
thematically, well, fucking Quentin actually brought something up about that it was terribly executed, but it had a place. There was a fucking point to that.
It did.
Do you know what it was?
I haven't watched them in fucking years.
Quentin Reviews made a great fucking video about the prequels recently. And he pointed out that he says the thing about the sand, right? And when he goes back to Tatooine and finds out that his mom is dead, he falls to his knees in front of her grave, but what most people don't notice is that he picks up a fistful of sand and rubs it around in his hand, and he doesn't let it go. Like, he holds onto it. It's like he's embracing, you know, I don't like this, but this is part of life. Like, this is something that I have to deal with. There is meant to be a symbolism there that is very poorly put together and framed.
Yeah.
But I'm impressed that George Lucas tried to do something so subtle, even if he fucking fell on his face with it.
Oh, yeah. Especially in Attack of the Clones.
And I really do appreciate George Lucas. I do. I know that he's not really a filmmaker.
No.
He never was. It was never his strong suit. But he had these ideas and this imagination and this way of putting things together. Like, the story of how the original Star Wars was made is really astonishing.
Yeah.
If you actually look up how it was put together, the people on set were talking about how he was a terrible director, and like he yelled at people and like had no idea how everything worked. But somehow he managed to bring this together and make it good, and he had people around to help him out for the next ones. That's great. Everyone knows the problem with the prequels is that he was surrounded by yes men.
Yep.
So anyway, but I do appreciate what he brought to the series and the ideas that he had, and it was his story. So fine, that's cool.
So like just to. And you don't even like Solo. I thought Solo was a fun movie.
Solo was fun.
Like, it wasn't anything deep or meaningful or serious. It was a fun 2 hours.
Somehow I was able to dismiss all the stupid beats in that movie. Like, the way that it ties into the lore is fucking ridiculous.
Oh, it is. I agree.
I really hate some of the story beats on their own. I'm like, oh, that's just shoehorned in there. But I'm somehow able to ignore that because the rest of the movie is charming and fun.
And Rogue One, and I also like...
Rogue One is a fantastic war movie that actually focuses on the cost of war. I like the tone of it, the fact that it takes itself seriously.
Amazing third act.
Yeah, I really, really enjoyed how that was put together as like a Magnificent Seven kind of deal.
Yeah.
Like... God, give that director the next Suicide Squad. See what happens.
Right.
But that's the thing. Suicide Squad is based on things like the Magnificent Seven. But anyway,
and that gets go to the category like every Disney, Disney Star Wars movie, whether you liked it or not, are still like objectively well made, well crafted films. Even Solo to a certain extent. Despite,
Solo was fun. It was
despite some of the slap together elements of it. Like it's still watchable. It's still like a cohesive film from beginning to end.
Should have been left with Lord and Miller. I
agree.
like Ron Howard, but
I agree.
You know.
But that I'm having a point here.
Sure.
So they're all they're paced well enough. They're all like constructed well as movies. And
reasonably enough. Reasonably enough.
The
prequels had pacing issues, but still felt like a story.
Yeah. And then we get to...
Do we need to talk about the original trilogy at all? I think that's just kind of a given.
I think it's a given.
Okay.
And then we get to The Rise of Skywalker, which, regardless whether you like it or not, or even how much I like it or I don't, objectively...
It is an objectively bad movie.
I can't say it's a good movie.
It's a bad movie.
Objectively speaking. Like, not my own personal feelings on what choices they made, not on, like, the plot beats or the story.
Okay.
Objectively, on its merit, how it's made, how it's written, how it's constructed, like, the skeleton of it, it's all bad.
The plot elements, the main thread of the movie, the writing, the pacing,
the
editing, the creative decisions, the character choices, the plans they come up with. All of them are bad. It
really is astonishing how slapping together this feels.
Even with Star Wars, usually they have the basic film school concepts of, hey, establishing shots. Mm-hmm. Like, they're not there. The fucking, like, the way that this movie is put together is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. Every single motivating factor of the movie is a fucking MacGuffin.
Yeah.
Everything is like, oh, we gotta take this thing and go there. Oh, we gotta go here to get this thing. There's very little in it that is, you know, and you could say, you know, what, the fucking part of Last Jedi that everyone agrees sucks is Canto Bites. Fine. They had to go there. That in and of itself is a MacGuffin. But it's not a series of MacGuffins. The whole idea, and for those who don't know, a MacGuffin is an element of film that is basically meant to drive the characters to a location or drive the plot forward without actually being significant in and of itself. It's just kind of a placeholder that is insignificant without the fact that the characters need to go somewhere.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily a bad thing if the film built around it is fine. You know, in the end, there are plot elements put into, say, Canto Bites, that were significant for the characters involved. Maybe they spent too much time there. Fine. But the way that it developed the character of Finn along the way and how it involved the kids is very significant and important to not only the message of the movie, but the Star Wars universe in general. And I loved that. And that's something they fucking shit on in this movie. The kids don't show up. They're not a part of it. There's nothing even remotely there about them, okay?
I gotta point out a great Twitter post I saw on this, because you'll get a kick out of this.
Oh boy.
It's like watching The Rise of Skywalker is watching like two bad improvers. Like Ryan Johnson comes and is like, all right, we're the supermarket, and J.J. Abrams, no, we're not.
No, but
yeah.
Oh god.
This movie has no room to breathe. I think it's really one of the big issues. I have with it. There's no room to breathe.
The first act of this movie is so. There's no, like, it's like the dialogue in the scenes is packed as close as possible. They find an excuse to get into action as quickly as possible for, like, it's all for visual flair.
Yeah.
And
I just kept waiting for, like, okay, when are these characters actually going to stop for a fucking second?
Yeah, when is this?
Actually talk to each other.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't happen for at least an hour into the movie. Yeah. If I'm being generous.
The opening crawl of the movie, I read it and I said, this sounds like something that we could have been shown.
Yeah.
This sounds like something that would have been cool to see. And there was someone who was arguing with me that, well, you know, they didn't have time. They didn't have time to make all that stuff. I feel like if they had 2 movies to themselves, then they would have made it, you know, they would have had time. No, this is bad filmmaking.
I agree.
And there are entire plot threads in this movie that are intended just to get the characters to a new cool-looking location and introduce cool-looking characters that are good for merchandising and, you know, having plot beats that should be significant, like emotionally, but they just ring hollow because they're unearned, they're manipulative, they're cheap, they're just terrible. And you could have taken that whole chunk out of the movie and extended the rest of the scenes to actually mean something.
I agree.
And if you had something leading up to what is actually the opening scene of this, it might have been marginally better. But when we get to the spoilers, let's get into that because holy shit.
There's a lot to talk about.
From the first few minutes of this movie,
it is jarring.
It is atrocious.
It's jarring. Like, really? We're just doing this? We're just jumping right...
It's like, all right, I
guess when we need to move the plot along, so fuck pacing or, like, building up anything. Or,
I guess we're gonna cancel all this other stuff that was going on and pay attention to this now.
Honestly, I was talking to some people about this, and I think the idea for me is, like, I didn't read this personally as, like, a direct response to Last Jedi. I'm sure some of it is.
There are several things that are clearly direct responses to The Last Jedi.
To me, like, at least the main big ideas in this movie felt like leftover ideas from The Force Awakens.
Yes.
That J.J. Abrams, could not let go of, despite the fact that the characters have well moved past these plot ideas.
Yeah.
So these felt like just shoehorned and shoved in there to the point where it's like, this doesn't fit anymore.
No, one of the main criticisms that I'm hearing is that it's very clear that they did not have a roadmap.
Mm-hmm.
And
the first.
Well, Rian Johnson has confirmed that he didn't really receive any direction from J.J. Abrams or anybody about where they were taking the thing. They just said, make something cool. And he made it, and it was critically beloved everywhere. And the Disney execs loved it so much when he showed it to them because, hey, I think they understand what a good movie is maybe sometimes. And they gave him his own fucking trilogy to work on. And that's how fucking good it was from an actual filmmaking standpoint that ignores ideas like fan expectations and fan service. It's not there to be exactly what you want it to be. It's there to have ideas that make sense and are interesting and maybe challenge the characters a little bit. And I know that some people might say, you know, this is going to seem kind of hypocritical coming from what I'm about to say about the rest of this fucking movie, but there's a difference. There's a huge difference because that was at least well written and well considered in a lot of ways. These things made sense, and they took these archetypes and they made them deeper. This movie returned the character to archetypes. Like, the characters are re-reduced back to thinner concepts and motivations. They're not characters that are having inner conflict because of all these different actual feelings that are going on that are expressed. They're having inner conflicts because they're told that these things are happening. And it's really apparent if you try to look at this as an actual movie, not as a Star Wars adventure, which, you know, some people might take as a paradox, but really just look at this as a real movie. Think about how it would feel if it was constructed like this outside of, you know, if it wasn't these characters, if it wasn't this beloved, would it actually work that well? And the answer is a resounding no. This is not a well-made movie.
And I think the biggest thing, the biggest comparison I can put it with is really, and I know you agree with this because I saw your post on this, you know what I'm going to say, the last season of Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah. I felt it.
In very much the same way, in that, okay, this is where we wanted to go, but by the time we got there, the characters we made had moved so much past these plot points and these ideas, whether you liked what they did at that point or not, the fact of the matter remains, the characters no longer fit this story.
Yes.
But they didn't want to let go of the story, so they just shoehorned it in a way that feels...
Made them go a certain way.
It's more like, it's making the square peg go in the round hole. It just doesn't work anymore, and nobody wanted to tell them that it didn't work anymore.
So let's see. Things from The Last Jedi that were actually interesting, that are just dropped in this movie. if you're Asian and you felt it was cool to see some Asian representation in the form of Rose, I know a lot of people hate on her, but if you thought that was cool, guess what? She's in like 4 shots.
Yeah.
And she gets maybe 2 spoken lines. She is fucking erased. The whole idea of Kylo being supreme leader now and working to build his empire, actually dealing with the idea of having this power and being respected by his troops, that's pretty much out the window. The whole relationship between Kylo and Rey being this interesting back and forth where they're both kind of helping each other explore their minds. Nope, it's basically like Kylo just manipulating her and trying to, like, make her do what he wants and her being like, go away. And it's...
Now, to be fair, we'll get more into this when we get into spoilers.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff they do with the Kylo Ren relationship, I did actually like.
Some things in this movie are decent. Yeah. I liked 10%... I really liked maybe 10% of this movie. Mm-hmm. There were a couple scenes that I really fucking enjoyed, and they were basically action sequences. There were, I would say, like 30% of the movie is passable. It's fine. The rest is fucking garbage. It's pretty garbage. It's kind of fun garbage, sort of, but it's fucking garbage. There is a good portion of this movie that is outright atrocious. And the worst part is that a lot of that is where it ends. A lot of that is like where this movie ends up thematically with the characters, story-wise, like where all this shit ends. It's that. So, you know,
it's gonna get dark. We just know. So
yeah, it's starting to get dark. Might as well get this going. Okay, yeah. So,
I think the general consensus before we get into spoilers, because I feel like we're at that point.
Yeah.
Is it's poorly paced. The writing's really bad.
Yeah.
There are some parts that work. Some parts are okay. Some parts are fun. But for the most part, it's rushed. It's sloppy. It's shockingly inept considering all the talent involved. You can tell there's a lot of things they had to redo because of Carrie Fisher's death.
Oh yeah, how they reused deleted scenes from Force Awakens.
And it's fucking obvious and kind of painful to watch.
And how there's scenes where like her face is just hidden. Yeah, she's talking. It's bad.
It's sort of painful moments there. And
they did what they could.
They did what they could. I guess that part's not entirely their fault.
I can't really hate on that so much just because what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
They did what they could, but it's the way they decided to do it feels like an injustice to the character. And it comes from the ineptness. I would possibly be willing to let it go if the rest of the movie was higher quality.
Yeah.
But to me, it just speaks of people that don't know how to do their job right and just weren't willing to try.
And I think another one major point I want to talk before we get into spoilers is that we talked very briefly about the fan service. Like the fan service, I think, is more than the writing, in my opinion, kind of holds this movie back because it is so obsessed with providing fan service. And again, we'll talk about the specific why in a bit.
Yeah,
it takes so much focus on fan service and like, oh, here's a thing you remember at some point. Here's this other thing you remember. Here's a reference to that. Here's a callback to that.
Screen Rant's video on the pitch meeting for this is amazing.
I'll have to look that up later.
Oh, it's so good.
But the point is, like, it does it to the point where it takes away from the character and the story, and when you're doing that, you're doing it way too fucking much. I don't have any problem with fan service on its own merit. It can be fine if done well. But when you're doing it to the point where it's taken away from your story, it's taken away from your characters, it's taken away from everything that matters about a movie, then
room to move.
Your priorities are on the wrong thing. And that's the last point I want to make before we dive into spoilers. So that's the general consensus. So leave now. We don't want anything else spoiled.
Clearly, you can see how we feel about this. You know, whatever.
Like, I've had a few days sitting on it. The more I've thought about it, the more I don't like it.
Yeah, no, I was upset when I left the theater. At this point, I fucking hate it. And this is not just me going like they ruined The Last Jedi, which they did in many ways.
It's objectively bad.
It is a terrible movie, and I think the number of people trying to be like, it was good. I saw one guy post a thing where he was like, I actually really enjoyed it, and if you didn't, you can go fuck yourself and not talk to me about that. I'm like, all right, you clearly don't like good movies, so that's fine.
You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of when Justice League came out, and so many people are trying to defend that movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you know what this reminds me of?
What?
Infinity War.
Well, here's my point as far as that goes. All right.
Sure.
We've talked about Fame and Former Point. I definitely see where you're coming from, and to a certain point, to an extent, I agree.
Messaging aside, this is a worse movie.
Objectively, yes. I think it's more like, I was like the only one at the time watching Justice League going, what the fuck did you watch? That sucked!
No, and I was watching Justice League.
Now everyone hates Justice League, and I was like, I hate it before it was cool.
No, I didn't like Justice League initially, but at the same time, I was like, this clearly had a lot more that was supposed to be in it, and it was not supposed to be this tone, and it's just sad. That's its own thing.
That is
but hey, HBO Max, Snyder Cut,
that's not
a few more months.
That's not a thing.
No, apparently it is. Have you heard?
I've been following up on this, and that's just a rumor at best.
It is a rumor, but it's kind of backed up by some really interesting stuff.
At best, you get an assembly cut, which is...
Well, yeah, no, you get a work print.
Yeah.
I'd be fine with a work print.
And most of these people in pajamas and green screen.
I don't care. I'm okay with this. I just want to see the way it would have been. We would have gotten Black Suit Superman. That would have been cool.
But it still would have been Snyder's Superman, so still shitty.
I'm okay with that. That's, anyway, we've had this
That's
argument.
More of a fanboyish argument.
That's its own debate.
See, that's a kind of a conversation that, like, if it was that kind of conversation regarding this movie, I'd be, like, more accepting of other people's viewpoints on it.
We don't have time.
I'm not going to Superman. I'm talking about...
I know, but we're even talking about it. Don't have time.
All right.
Spoiler time. Fuck this movie. All right. Opening crawl. This movie says, a message from Palpatine has gone across the universe. I'm like, oh.
Wait, what? Yeah, right off the bat. It was like, I have questions.
I saw one tweet which put it perfectly, which is like, why wasn't there a thing that said, talking about how the story of Luke's legendary sacrifice has inspired uprisings across the galaxy, and the rebellion is experiencing a resurgence while Kylo is trying to, like, push. That would have been a cool thing. It's not what I wanted. Fine. Whatever. That's okay. But this is dumb.
Again, it goes back to, it's not even about, like, it's not what I wanted it to be. It's the fact the way it was done was so sloppy. Yes. It's distractingly so.
And that's the thing. In the opening crawl, you're like, wait, what the fuck is...
Yeah, it's like, why is
Palpatine part of this?
Yeah, like... and then they try to...
Hold on. And then they talk about how Kylo is relentlessly hunting down Palpatine because it's a potential threat to his power. I feel like they missed the point of what was happening with Kylo. Like, he's Supreme Leader. I don't know if that's a problem. Like, he's Supreme Leader. He's probably, if there's a message from Palpatine, maybe he's looking for the source of it, but just accepting that, oh, Palpatine is back. I'm gonna go find him on this hidden Sith planet.
Well, if he didn't do that, Muha, he might have been, usurped by...
Where did he find the magical cube again? Where did he find the magical little pyramid again?
I guess he
just pulls us out of a rock somewhere.
I think they said it was Mustafar. I think is what the official canon thing is.
Great. Okay, so he's somewhere finding something that leads him to the secret Sith planet, which I've never heard of.
No, that's new.
So he goes there. And he walks under this really, I mean, it's fucking dark looking as fuck. It looks pretty cool, but it's kind of an aggressive way to start the movie. Yeah. And it immediately feels like, okay, I guess we're here now. Like if you're gonna start a movie about the apocalypse, you don't start with the lava level,
Maybe you do.
If you were to start Revenge of the Sith at the Mount Doom, it wouldn't. You'd be like, oh wow, this is kind of crazy.
Oh wait, you mean Mustafar? You get how they tied that together?
No, shut up.
It's a fan reference.
Shut up. So he's here. First things first, he walks past a jar of Snokes.
Which, fine, whatever.
It's like, all right, people wanted an explanation of Snoke. You know one thing I fucking love about The Last Jedi? They kill Snoke, and they don't give a fuck. Because who is Snoke but an element in Kylo's story? Snoke is not the fucking point.
Yeah.
Kylo is
that
the
always
point.
Bugged me too. Yeah.
Kylo was his apprentice or whatever, and it's about him rising above, like, against him. We barely knew anything about Palpatine in the original trilogy.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It wasn't the point. His whole place was his relation to Vader. And the way that he was trying to seduce Luke, that was the whole point. Palpatine was fucking nothing. So, okay, Jar of Snokes. Okay, he's a bunch of Snoke clones. Cool. Why are there so many Snoke clones? How many Snokes were there?
Sorry, the way you said that is... why do you have so many Snoke cones?
Snow cones.
That's how you get...
No, but Snoke clones. What's funny is that Jenny Nicholson did this read of, like, this terrible fake pitch idea that someone had.
Was it like the Ray's a robot thing?
Yes! Yeah, but it actually talks about Snoke clones, and as I was listening, I was like, heh, Snoke clones. But, but yeah, there's a jar of Snoke clones, and, enunciation. And it gets to this point where you're like, why, okay, I guess they put that there just so that people were like, oh, it was, but again, why is there so many of them?
There's, yeah, and that, like,
it doesn't make sense!
Even if that was, like, the only scene that was at that rapid-fire pace, like, okay, we've seen a cinematic story, even I can overlook that, but it doesn't stop! So, it goes that same clip for, like, the next hour!
As he's walking into this fucking mystical, gigantic lightning pyramid, which is the secret heart of the Sith planet, you hear Palpatine's
big
voice.
That says not the secret base.
Right? You have Palpatine's voice in there, in his head. He says, and it changes between the voice of Palpatine and Darth Vader, and it's just a really corny fucking moment.
Yeah.
And it basically reveals that it has been Palpatine who, I guess, survived the fall down the reactor shaft, and he transported his consciousness via the dark side to this weird little GLaDOS zombie version of himself that is being maintained by, I guess, this whole planet of Sith servants and cults that, I don't know, what do they eat? There's no farming here. Clearly nothing grows on this planet. Like, what are they doing? How does this society... Are they just slaves? Do they sleep? Like, you want to talk about questions? Like, what the fuck is this Sith army that's just sitting around on this fucking planet?
And even then I can, like, overlook that, because, like,
I can't, but let's go further into it.
Like, I read comics. People die and come back all the time for dumb reasons.
Fine, but this is fucking stupid.
It is stupid, I agree.
And he walks in there, and Palpatine just has a voiceover where basically he's like, I've been influencing you this whole time, and to take power, you need to destroy Rey or they call her the Scavenger. You know, you need to destroy Rey because she's the only threat to our power. And once that happens, you can take over the universe with to form the final order and be the new empire. And have all this power for you. And, you know, this is the plot now. And I know you thought I would be the threat to you, but now you're totally happy to take my bargain to be my servant and do my bidding. Because, you know, he says...
We wrap this shit up.
He says, you know, Kylo himself says, I have my reasons when he's questioned as to why he's following it. But that's it. That's the explanation they give. It's like, someone in the movie straight up calls him out for going directly against what is supposed to be happening, and he says, shut up, I know, I have a plan, and nothing from that point. Just, oh, that's infuriating. But what's even more infuriating for me is, hey, this giant Sith planet, let's talk about scale. Do you know how big a fucking Star Destroyer is? Like, really, if you have looked at Star Wars lore and everything, if you know the size of a Star Destroyer and a Super Star Destroyer, each of these things, it takes, like, the population of a state to run one of these things, okay? Each of those things takes, like, at least a third of what it took to run the Death Star. They are massive. So, from the fucking dirt, literally hundreds of Star Destroyers just rise out of the ground, vertically, might I add, not in the direction that the rockets are, because I guess fucking Palpatine magically buried with his Sith mind powers, he buried hundreds of Star Destroyers under the ground, and they rumble up straight up into the air, and they form this really cool looking, scary fucking fleet of Star Destroyers. And And who's flying these things?
Well, don't you know, Muha? Sith believe in the flat Earth theory.
But who was flying these things? How many people were they just like underground in these things forever, just surviving off of hate and rage, like Darth Maul?
I was just gonna say that they're all run by Darth Maul.
Just are they all just underground for like 30 years until the time has come because Palpatine knew this would happen? But the amount of fucking staff that it would take to run these things is mind-blowing. And they just magically come out of the ground. And guess what? You find out later, every single one of them has a planet-killing gun. And the way they figure this out is because one of them kills a planet. And they just deduce from that, all of them must have this. Not that maybe that was the commanding Star Destroyer that is equipped with a Death Star power. And, also, timeline, if Palpatine went to this planet immediately after his death or whatever, first off, what resources did they use to build these?
I feel like you're way overthinking this.
It matters! What did they use to build these things? The technology that goes into these guns. Do you remember how they had the second Death Star? Do you remember how much it took to build that thing mainly because of its gun? Do you remember how the original Death Star was this huge fucking, like, the big secret project of the Empire to build a planet-killing gun? Do you remember how the multi-ball Death Star from Force Awakens required the power of suns to do what it did? It ate stars to blow up multiple planets at once. Well, now it's just a cannon that's on every single one of these things that's been hidden underground for decades. And it's fine. This is just fine. This is part of the fucking plot. But this is the opening scene. This is how it sets the premise of what is to come. And it is aggressively bad, and I guess, you know, it doesn't get as bad or worse until the ending. So there's that. But holy shit, I can't accept this. This is so far out. You could have had such a more interesting concept by having Kylo aggressively making moves to fight this, you know, uprising rebellion, while Rey is being this new hero and she's taking it down left and right and trying to cut them off before they take care of this thing that's starting to rise up. That would be a natural progression. This is like, oh, by the way, big bad of previous movies came back. He was behind everything before. He's got this magically huge fucking force behind him. And, yeah, that's, they gotta figure out how to find the beacon that'll show them where the thing is. So, okay, I can move past the first scene now.
Okay. I mean, I don't think the Star Killer, like, canon thing was, like, revealed into, like, the third act.
No, it wasn't, but the simple fact of the matter is...
They all existed in that time.
They all have it.
Yeah.
And that's a way more efficient package than exists even now with all the Empire's resources. Where did these come from? Why do all of them have it? Mm-hmm. It doesn't make sense.
But if you read issue 23, the Star Wars...
Eat my ass, Michael! Let's move on from the first scene, because
but it's in the same book where Han Solo fights an otter.
Just shut up. We have to keep going.
Okay.
We have to stay focused, because there's so much of this movie.
Okay.
Please.
Do you take a moment?
Yeah, just walk through the next part. I'm just...
Okay. So... The Emperor tells Kylo, I'll let you rule the kingdom, but you gotta kill Rey first. But there's something about Rey you don't know. And then that leads... a
mystery box!
A mystery box, yeah, because, you know, J.J. Abrams... That was like the most aggressive slurp. Anyway, and then...
I am disappointed in you, JJ.
Even by JJ's standards.
As someone who, you know, has seen you do good stuff and seen you do mediocre stuff...
Okay, I remember what happens next. Oh, yeah, and then it cuts to Rey, who is on like the rebel base, and I guess she's being trained by Princess Leia now, or sorry, General Leia. And she does like an obstacle course.
No,
what happened?
We missed it. We missed the scene where they intentionally dress Poe as Han Solo and have him sit in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon with Chewie.
Oh, I did forget about that. Yeah,
that almost sounded like a Chewie imitation.
I cannot do a Chewie growl.
They had a pretty cool moment where they're sitting, like, Poe and Finn are sitting there playing space chess with Chewie.
because they do like the jumper thingy.
It was a cute moment, kind of, because of the characters interacting. But at the same time, again, nothing more than a callback to previous movies.
And here's what I'll give credit where credit's due, is like when Poe, Finn, and Rey are in scenes together, they do have good chemistry off each other.
The actors have become actual friends.
Yeah.
They have that chemistry. You can see the chemistry. They're good.
But
they deserved better.
Yeah.
They deserved so much better. They could have done better if they had been given better. This movie robs all of them.
I agree. So we have this like brief chase scene with Foe and Pin. Pin and God damn it! I did. Finn and Poe. Stop it! Like you said, we don't have time.
Foppin'. Yeah.
So there's a brief chase scene happens. Meanwhile, I'm kind of just skipping over because we got a lot to cover.
No, I know. Like the opening is the thing that we really needed to nitpick, but we can jump ahead a bit.
And then meanwhile, Rey is on this planet being trained by Princess Leia. Well, these like this again, and I can't really fault the movie for this because they did their best.
They did not.
Well, at least in regards to General Leia.
Okay, fine. Okay, so
with what they worked with what they had, but every time they cut back to her and she says some generic line, and they have to like extrapolate like deeper meaning from that. It's also kind of like, okay, that's really distracting, and it's hard not to notice, and it's hard not to think about. Are you responding to somebody like? Oh, that's a good video, by the way.
Yeah,
no. Anyway. I lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah. So every time they do that, it's very distracting. It's obvious that they're working off, like, very, very little footage, especially when other characters have to describe her motivation to the audience, which happens multiple times. And again, it's... Even regardless of the circumstance that led there, which is tragic and horrible, it still feels really lazy.
No, yeah, that's the thing. It feels like... I'm torn between the feeling of they did what they could,
but the way they did it is so sloppy.
Like I was telling you earlier, I would be more willing to forgive it if the quality of the rest of the movie showed more competence, and made me feel like that was a fluke. Mm-hmm. But it really does feel like they put the same amount of care into that they did with the rest of the movie. Yeah, and that's just
a shame.
I mean, can you imagine having to stand there looking at someone and act like they're your dead friend?
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's brutal.
Hard. Anyway, then they eventually find out there's a MacGuffin like thing they got to go find that was discovered by a MacGuffin bounty hunter.
Let's get to that. There is a planet where there's this key to finding. There are only two wayfinders to find the Sith planet.
Yes.
And they find out, I forget how they figure out that he's on the Sith planet, but
wasn't it like they trace like a signal from Luke? No, wait, no, that's later.
Oh, no. Yeah. Apparently, Luke left coordinates for
sure.
Because they were looking for the Sith planet and they couldn't find it. So of course, Luke couldn't find it, but our heroes will in like half an hour.
Yeah.
And oh god, and
then they fly off to like
they fly off
Tatooine.
They fly off to this new desert planet where Burning Man is happening. And it's fucking Burning Man. It's like some kind of great desert festival. It's somewhere between Burning Man and that Indian Color Festival. That's really nice. But yeah, it clearly is just some like, hey, desert fun. And Rey has a conversation with a complete stranger who asks her the very upsetting question of, who her family is. When they get introduced.
Oh, I don't know my father.
She's like, I don't know my father. No, it's like, she'd be honored to know your family name. And she's like, I don't have one.
That's a shame,
like
that's a shame, Jon Snow. I'm sure it won't turn out to be some kind of bullshit answer.
God,
that you'll immediately not care about.
so they go, and of course the fucking Kylo reaches out and figures out where she is, and they have to hurry now.
Now, can we talk about the way force bonding is used in this movie for a little bit? Because that is one of the positives I will give it.
I found that interesting.
Yeah,
I did find that interesting.
That is the one thing they did take from...
on a frame, buddy. Okay, there we go.
The one thing they did take from The Last Jedi, like the only thing they took from The Last Jedi that they did use effectively in this movie was the way the force bonding worked from The Last Jedi.
I enjoyed that.
Those scenes were cool.
It was
and they were clever. And the way they used them to, like, in the fight scenes and the interactions, like, that shit was cool.
I did enjoy the one in his quarters.
In the quarters? That was really clever. And that was a really creative use of that. And it's like, where the hell was that for the rest of the movie?
Oh, I forgot. They fixed Kylo Ren's helmet.
Oh, yeah.
And instead of...
Because I guess J.J. Abrams just did not want to let it go.
Well, he's like... that's... Okay, jumping back to that for a second, because that's another thing that's really irritating, is that... And it's something I saw in the trailer, and I saw it as the perfect metaphor for the problems that this movie was going to do, which was, hey, you know how... There was that thing that was actually a really good character development moment in The Last Jedi, but a lot of people were complaining because they thought this thing looked cool. Well, we're going to take the fact that destroying it was a symbolic moment and just reconstruct it in front of you in the trailer to let you know that we're going to ignore all the meaningful moments of the previous movie and just go for cool looking shit. And just as a metaphor. And I knew when I saw that in the trailer, I was like, oh no. It's gonna be this, and it was this. So yeah. Not only do they meld it back together, the lines on the helmet are not lined up perfectly because it's been melded back together, but the actual helmet shape is melded together perfectly, and there are little cracks in the helmet that are glowing red. Because I guess Sith welding torches run on pure evil, and those cracks. Oh god, and those cracks in the helmet don't line up with where the misaligned lines here are. It's a mess of a prop. It's just it's several concepts put together really poorly, and it was a distraction for the whole fucking movie.
I didn't notice that at all.
I did.
I can tell.
Oh,
but like, to give credit's due, the stuff to do with the force bonding is cool. It is unique, and like. The part when in the desert when he does reach out and just grabs the necklace out.
Yeah,
that
was
was
cool.
a legitimately cool moment.
I thought that was a clever way to have him find out where she is. Although the way they got it done so quickly kind of irritated me. Fine.
But for what it was cool.
Game of Thrones logic, fine. Okay, travel time and analysis, whatever. I'll let that slide, because it's definitely the least of the fucking offenses this movie commits.
Yeah.
And then they go...
before they... They run into...
Stormtrooper finds them, holds them at gunpoint. They're unprepared. Thank God... Random dude, well, some rando decides to shoot him in the fucking face.
Oh, fuck you.
And he's like, come with me, we gotta hide. And they go jump into this desert crawler, and he takes the helmet off, and the rando is Lando.
Fuck you for that joke.
What is Lando doing here?
Service.
Didn't he have a city to run that loved him very much and that he was very devoted to? Didn't he, like, have a life?
Well, we also know Billy D. Williams can be bought very easily.
No, I know.
From that same movie.
No. There was no money involved here.
That we know of.
He came with Luke out of the pure goodness of his heart because he wanted to help him find the Sith planet, because out of everyone to help him on this mission, Luke picked Lando.
Lando was the most qualified.
Luke and Lando adventures. All right, cool. Let's go do this.
Now
so
on Disney Plus.
They do that. They land on the planet. And I guess Luke fucks off and leaves Lando there? Like, why is Lando still here?
Now I just imagine, like...
decades later! Like, what is he... Did he just, like... Did he do peyote at Burning Man and be like, you know, I like it here?
Just imagine... I think
I'll stick around forever and give up on everything.
Mark Hamill and Billy D. Williams there on the campfire, and all of a sudden, just Mark Hamill goes, woo! And just kind of waddles off to drink his blue milk somewhere. Oh god.
So that's a thing that happened.
Yeah.
But hey,
cameo.
Lando's here, and within 2 minutes he says, "I've got a bad feeling about this," because he said it in the other movie.
Yeah, that was where I was like rolling my eyes.
It's the thing from the other movie. It's in there because it's a reference to the previous thing, even though we've already made this reference in this trilogy. How many times have people said, "I have a bad feeling about this" in this trilogy?
Once per movie.
So,
yeah.
Why? And it just felt shoehorned in.
Yeah, like a cameo.
It didn't belong there. It didn't belong there. It didn't make sense. It was just there to put it there.
And that's what I'm talking about when I say, like, fan service to...
So much of this is just there to be there.
Yep. No, and I agree. And, like, that's what I'm talking about when I say fan service for the sake of fan service. It's usually where shit tends to go wrong. Because your priorities are on the wrong place. The priority wasn't, where do we find a place where it makes sense for Lando to be there? It's like, where can we shoehorn Lando in there so we can say, oh, we put Lando in the movie.
Yep.
That was the entire point. That was the first and last thought in regards to his placement in the story.
Yep.
And that continues throughout his appearance in the film.
Yeah, he just pops up every here and there.
Yeah.
So, okay, so this happens, and he's like, "Oh, we're gonna take you to the wreckage of the ship." And it's like, okay, fine. So they go to the wreckage of the ship, and they have this pretty cool chase sequence on the way there.
But hold on, we gotta ask an important question. Muha, do they fly now?
They fly now.
Wait, would they fly now?
They make a joke about that, and it's the only time they fly.
Yeah.
In any of the movies, including this one.
Does Boba Fett count?
It's the only... No, he's not a stormtrooper.
I guess.
But I guess they fly now, and they just have this cool moment where they're flying, and, I love how they're missing each other this whole time until the very end, when the one stormtrooper, while flying through the air, nails both of them with rocket shots.
Everyone gets one.
You got two. 100% accuracy for those last two shots after this whole chase sequence while he's tumbling through the air.
I think my favorite joke in Star Wars Rebels, the show, is when they had one of the clones come back and wear the Stormtrooper helmet, like, in disguise, and then he takes it off. It's like, I can't see shit in this thing.
No, I like that, because that's a running joke in the Star Wars. Yeah. If you remember anything about all the Star Wars mythology...
Like how terrible the Stormtrooper aim is.
Yeah, it's not just the Stormtrooper aim, it's the fact that there have been multiple instances throughout, the various iterations of Star Wars. I know it's all now unofficial, but still, just the whole joke of when they put on the helmet, they're like, you can't see shit out of the things. No wonder they all fucking die and can't hit anything. So, running joke, it's funny, it's cool, but
yeah, so
unless you're flying through the air with a rocket launcher, shooting at moving targets that you've been missing for much easier vantage points for, the past few minutes.
I mean, bear in mind, everything we're describing right now is the first 30 minutes of the movie. Like, if it sounds like a lot, it's because it is. If it sounds like going through them quickly, it's about as quickly as it goes through the movie.
I mean, at this point, we're basically about half an hour in.
Yeah.
So yeah, they land near the ship that they're trying to head towards, and they're in this weird quicksandy kind of stuff where suddenly Rey completely forgets her force powers, and they all just sink into it. And you're like, okay, I guess our
Oh, and then they do like another mystery box where Finn goes, looks over at Rey and goes, "There's something I need to tell you," and then drops in there, and it's never brought up again.
No, it is.
Is it?
It's brought up a couple times.
Was it ever, like, resolved? Or at least leave it dangling?
It's not actually resolved in the movie, but apparently, there was an Academy private screening of the movie where J.J. Abrams was there, and they asked him what it was, and he said, it was the fact that he wanted to tell her that he was force sensitive. So, that's that mystery box.
Yay.
So, it's a little lopsided.
I mean, it's just gonna be that way. No, okay.
Here, that's better.
Oh, that's better.
See? Just gotta try, Michael.
What do you think I do all the time? Don't answer that.
In private, or?
That is none of your business. Anyway. Don't worry about it.
I'm just imagining manscaping with some kind of lightsaber tool.
Ow. Ow. Ow.
Anyway, so this happens.
That's what Yoda does in his free time.
Jesus Christ. I'm sorry, the Yoda voice is always funny.
Thank you.
Okay, so they sink under the ground, and they go into these caverns with some giant fucking snake thing. And mind you, something we haven't mentioned yet is that this whole time, somehow, C-3PO has a lot of lines.
Yeah.
He has a lot of lines.
Honestly, until you brought him up, I completely forgot he was in that scene.
He is constantly making quips that are meant to be funny, and they would be funnier if he wasn't making them so much.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, C-3PO is a character that has, you know, at least half as much dialogue as the rest of the main cast. And it's a really jarring difference. It's very noticeable, it's out of place, and it's clearly meant to be forced comedic value. Like when they fall down in the caves, and Rey asks, you know, Poe or whoever if they're all right, and 3PO is like, "You didn't ask if I was okay, sir." And it's like,
it's not about you, 3PO.
Okay, I mean, I guess fine, funny, you know, because I guess no one cares about C-3PO. Is the joke that no one cares about him? I don't get what's happening. And then I did get a momentary chuckle when they were like, "Where's Chewbacca?" And he just falls from the ceiling. It's very much like, you know, if you've seen Twister, "Where's my truck?" But so that happens, and they find a giant snake down there. And I guess, you know, we had various jokes about this. Kim said parcel tongue. I said the joke here is that Rey is a Slytherin, but she's able to talk to this giant snake who's about to eat all their faces, and she discovers that it's actually hurt. She might just be a Disney princess now, you know.
I mean, she
talks to animals.
is, really.
So the snake is hurt. She force heals it, and it doesn't kill them. And she magically figures out where in the sand there is buried this knife. There's a Sith knife, and the knife has some runes on it. And I don't know how to read it except C-3PO, and C-3PO reads it, but it is against his protocols to translate such a thing.
Like Sith language or whatever.
Yeah, it's against his programming to translate forbidden languages, which, okay, I guess. Now we're on another fetch quest. So let's go to this thing. And they,
and then they, let's talk about this thing. This one bothered me.
Yeah.
It's more like, and this goes back to just how much of a fast fucking clip this movie's going at. Because everything we describe is like, again, 30, 45 minutes of the movie. And then we go to a new planet where Poe doesn't want to go to because like, oh, I have a history there or something like that.
We're like, why? And he's like,
and like, there's a reason. And then he goes in there, some like lady bounty hunter thing that he has a thing with, because they can't let Poe and Finn be gay. Which I love that, like, they even bothered Oscar Isaac. Whereas like we should have been gay, damn it.
There's you know, that's, I understand wishful thinking and all that, but we'll get to more of that later.
But that being said, they would have been a great couple.
We'll get to more of that later.
But anyway, so they have this whole character that just screams Disney Plus spin-off series like the entire time she's there.
Yeah.
And they were like, I don't even know why, like, outside of just cynicism and trying to make spin-offs off of this fucking movie, why this character was even there. Because she doesn't really do much of anything, nor does she leave much of an impression, and yet we're supposed to care when she comes back at the end.
Well, let's another thing that really bothered me about this was that they just suddenly are on the planet.
Yeah.
And it is being searched by the Order. Oh yeah, and there's this weird troop of like sinister looking mercenaries in cool costumes that is kind of glowering over. Oh, we didn't know. We need to finish the fucking desert scene.
Oh, right. Okay, go ahead.
There's this sinister group of mercenaries that's glowering over them, like tracking them.
Were those supposed to be like the Knights of Ren?
I guess, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's what they're supposed to be.
It's kind of not very well established, but yeah, they're just this group of clearly specialized warriors. And they don't really approach them or attack them. They're just kind of hanging out. And fucking Rey runs at Kylo's fucking TIE fighter that comes in to get her. And Chewie goes out there too, and he gets captured by First Order.
I forgot about this. All right.
Then you have this big moment in the movie, which personally, I look, when a scene is happening and I can immediately tell where it's going to end and it just feels stupid to me, I get impatient, and when the moment happens, I don't really have an emotional reaction to it. So the moment that her and Kylo start fighting over force control of the troop transport that is holding Chewie, I in my head, I'm like, it's going to be destroyed somehow, and it's going to be her fault, and she's going to feel responsible.
Yep, and that's what happens.
And that's exactly what happens. They do their hardest to act with the force pulling and everything. And I think it would have been cooler if they just accidentally crushed the transport.
That would have been pretty cool, yeah.
Because it makes more sense, but she just accidentally shoots lightning at it, which she doesn't do ever again. Yeah. She never uses force lightning again, and I guess it's meant to freak you out, because, you know, Luke used Force Lightning in The Return of the Jedi, and that was when you were worried about him turning towards the dark side. Is Rey turning towards the dark side because she's got Sith powers now? No, it's just there to freak you out for a second because other movies have already implied this to you. It is, again,
it's visual
unearned.
Yeah.
And, again, same thing could have been conveyed if she just accidentally crushed it with the power of their Force tug-of-war. That would have made sense. It would have been fine. Nope, it blows up. And there's a genuinely... You know, it didn't hit me because I was like, oh god, this is how they're going to kill Chewie.
I didn't believe they killed Chewie for a second.
Well, and neither did I, because you saw in the trailers that he was piloting the Millennium Falcon with Lando later.
See, for me, I was more thinking, it's like, if Chewie died, Twitter would have been on fucking fire.
Well, but that's the thing. Like, you see it and you're like, oh god. And this moment happens where, you know, she blows this thing up, and it's legitimate horror. And I will say, I was sitting next to my girlfriend, she freaked out. She put her hands on her mouth and gasped, and I can see how that's a really powerful emotional moment. Cool. Here's another thing about this movie. It has several moments, especially in the last scene, where it is supposed to have really powerful, intense impact, and it immediately undoes it.
Yep.
Like, it's like they want to have meaningful, impactful moments, but not deal with the potential consequences of it, because they want to keep it light and fun.
And they're so terrified of alienating any potential audience members at this point.
Yeah.
That it just comes off as horrendously pandering.
It's stupid, because they do this, and then minutes later you find out that, oh, hey, Chewie was actually just, you know, on the other transport.
Fine.
He's fine. It's fine.
And I was like, oh, you goddamn cowards.
Yeah.
You know, like, if you're gonna do something, fucking commit to it.
So they decide to take this shitty little ship, and they're going to steal it and fly it to the Star Destroyer that Chewie is being held on. I don't know how quickly he was transported up there. I forget the exact detail of how they end up on there.
Because I got like the little commander chip from the bounty hunter chick.
No, wait.
Yeah, that's how they get on.
Right, because they need the they get the translator first. So first they go to this other planet, because they think Chewie's dead. Fine. So they go to the other planet, they get the commander chip from this lady, because, you know, she has it, and it's going to be her only ticket out of this place, because she's been here her whole life, and she wanted to escape the whole time, but, you know, when they're leaving the planet, she just gives it to Poe, and refuses to go with them, which I was disappointed in, because I would have liked her as an addition to the crew.
She would have been good.
It would have been cool to spend more time with her, it would have been cool to find out more about her personality, what she does, see how she acts in larger action moments. No, she's just there as a, you know, prop to the story and to Poe's story. So,
and again, go say what you will about The Last Jedi, but at least it trimmed some fucking fat.
And, you know, what's the name of that little dude?
The little robot thing?
No, not the robot thing. The dude who,
oh, the little gremlin?
Yeah, the little dude, the mechanic, the...
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I don't know his name.
Yeah,
at least it was...
He was fun. I liked it.
It's like, at least it was practical. I appreciated that.
No, I enjoyed his addition. He was good. And, oh yeah, and they just find a random droid. BB-8 makes friends with a random droid and powers him up, and the droid is kind of adorable. Because
I did appreciate the no thank you.
I know, it's like, no thank you, don't touch me. And I'm like, aw, boundaries, okay. But it's just very awkwardly inserted in, because they cut away from another scene to come back to the shop, which they didn't establish them arriving at. Yeah. They just cut to them being on that planet too. There's no establishing shots with this shit. They cut away to another scene, they cut back to them, and they're in the shop, and BB-8 revives this robot, and Rey's like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. You're our friend now.
Wasn't the robot on the little crappy ship they went on?
And then they leave. No, I don't think it was on the ship. It was, No,
it was on the ship. Because they were, like, dusting all the shit off before they left the desert planet.
Oh, were they doing the repairs inside the ship? I thought they went to his workshop.
No, they would repair it inside the ship.
Oh, well, I guess that makes more sense. Okay.
Yeah. I guess it was, like, a crappy ship that's been there for ages. So.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just thought the mechanic guy had his own workshop with his own tools and shit. But whatever. Cool. All right.
Well, that was before we got to the mechanic shop.
I don't know, man. This movie is very bad at establishing where you are at any given... It's just a badly made movie.
I agree. Why are you yelling at me?
No, because I'm frustrated now. Because I'm like, these should have been apparent when I was watching the movie if, you did an establishing shot. Or transitions between the characters being in places instead of just putting them somewhere and being like, we're here now. It's bad filmmaking. Period. But yeah, so they do this, they get they find out 3PO needs to have his memory wiped to access this translation and violate his protocol because, okay, arbitrary, there's no reason for that to be true. They just put that in there to have him go like, I'm taking one last look at my friends.
Like, this would look great in the trailer, is really what I'm...
Yeah, right? And then, although I did think it was pretty funny when he was like, wait, I think there might be another way. And, and of course they drop the thing there where they're like, don't you have a backup in in R2-D2's memory? And he says, R2-D2's memory banks are infamously unreliable. And in my head, I'm like, okay, so they're just going to restore him from a backup. That's what's going to happen. It's not a mystery. What's hilarious about it is that nobody tries to restore the backup. It just happens that R2 comes up to him and
it's like, dude,
and he's like, where'd you go? And R2 restores him on their own. No one cares about 3PO. No one gives a shit about what's happening with this character, and when he gets his mind wipe and gets reset, and they're like, oh, he's gone now, okay. They just go about their merry business, and he just happens to be restored by another droid, and they're like, oh, you're back, cool. Like,
shitty friends, 3PO.
No, this is bad. So yeah, they get the coordinates of where this thing is, they get the chip, and they're like, Chewie's on that ship. Okay, because, Kylo's now there to track them down. So they go on the ship to save Chewie and get the blade.
We forgot to mention.
Oh no.
Apparently there's also a mole in the First Order.
Oh yeah, there's a mole in the First Order. They got that's why they had the ship jumping scene at the beginning, because they were getting a drop of information from a contact that, is a mole in the First Order. Great. Okay.
Okay, fine.
Done. It's
relevant for this next sequence.
So they decide what we're gonna do is we're just gonna fly our shitty-ass little ship into the docking bay on the Star Destroyer.
All three of us.
All of us.
In this giant Star Destroyer filled to the brim with stormtroopers.
We can take on literally thousands of enemies in their home base where they can shut down doors and, all that stuff.
What's the worst that can happen?
And straight up, Rey separates from them.
Yeah.
Goes off to find the knife. Okay. Finn and Poe go off to find Chewie. I don't know how they know where he is, but they find him. So they go find Chewie, and, God, don't they do some really stupid fucking callback to the, Oh, no, they don't. That was another thing I watched. But,
okay. I was like, there was a lot of stupid callbacks.
No, the how are you message.
Oh, yeah, that was something.
They do it?
No, I don't
remember. Okay, well, anyway, let's just pretend it doesn't happen because there's enough other stupid shit. So they find Chewie, they pick him up, they bring him back. Okay, and as they're escaping, they, of course, get fucking cornered by dozens of stormtroopers.
Because, yeah, of course they would.
And admittedly, the scene leading up to this is pretty cool looking, however impractical. Poe gets shot. Which is of literally no consequence. And they get captured and restrained, and they get brought out, and this one dude, the dude who is a new evil guy who is clearly unhappy with Kylo being leader and is not getting along with Hux.
I mean the one that looked like an evil Christopher Walken?
Yeah,
I guess it's our main villain avatar in the third act. Was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. So this dude is like, all right, well, we want the scavenger. She's on the ship. Go find her. Kill these guys. And Hux goes with them to escort them off to be executed. And in a weirdly predictable moment,
General Ginger turns out to be the mole. And
they're standing off to the side, and it does the whole thing where the heroes of our story are about to be executed because they're fucking incompetent. And good thing that not only were they captured, but they were taken to be sentenced by a person who was in the presence of the person who happened to be the mole. And the mole is the one that led them off with the other troopers. And the mole was like, I want to do this myself. And it cuts away and they're like, oh, we're going to die. And, you know, in a completely unpredictable story beat, you just hear blaster shots and you're like, oh, they didn't die. I thought they were going to die because this movie has stakes. And
I will say this, at least General Ginger is consistent.
Yeah, no, Hux straight up, like,
I don't care if you win, I just want Kylo Ren to lose.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, all right, yeah, that fits for that character.
Yeah, so Hux says, I'm the mole, and they're like, you? Which is a funny little moment, but at the same time, I think is also a hilarious, like, microcosm of how implausible this movie's plot is. So, yes, it's Hux, and he just wants Kylo to lose because he hates him so much. He doesn't want him as Supreme Leader. That's it. Which is a weirdly impractical way
to go about it.
To stage a mutiny is, like, not staging an internal resistance to overthrow him, but helping the enemy that will destroy everything that you are a part of.
Not that it ultimately matters.
Sure.
Because the very next scene, General Ginger shows up in evil.
And he's like, oh, they overpowered me. And he's like, yes, you're the mole. All right, sure, I guess. That's a weird way for that plot to just resolve handily.
Yeah, that was my reaction. She's like, I guess we're done with that now.
Yeah, right. They literally introduced this plot. It's like it was a mystery box who the mole was, and then they answered it, and instead of doing anything with it, they're just like, all right, you know now, boom, next.
Yeah, pretty much.
So he dies. They hop back on the ship, and this is the point where Rey has that really cool conversation with Kylo while she's in his quarters. They have this really cool thing where they have a lightsaber battle, even though they're remote viewing each other, basically. And he's once again able to see something in her surroundings where he realizes that she's in his quarters, and so they're going to return back to the ship. Fine. So they run, they escape, they jump on the ship, they leave, and that's that. They have the thing. And they get back to the Millennium Falcon, and now they have to go to an Endor moon. And this is where they get to the wreckage of the second Death Star, which looks cool as shit.
It does.
It's a really cool-looking set piece.
And this is where I gotta get, like, plot hole nitpicky. Like, this is my one time I'll let myself do it.
Okay.
Is the design of this fucking knife bothered the shit out of me.
No. We'll do that. We'll do that.
Okay.
But, okay, so they crash land the Millennium Falcon because the landing gear's fucked, I guess. So they crash land the Millennium Falcon and they meet this group of fellow deserters of the First Order. I liked the fact that there were other deserters of the First Order. It wasn't just Finn. I liked that there's this idea that, you know, Finn is not some random anomaly. There are plenty of stormtroopers that have issues with the way that this stuff was happening, which is a cool thing to have with, you know, space Nazis. And I thought that was a cool concept. I like the fact that they were basically like Horizon Zero Dawning it out there with their like horse warthog things. And yeah, it was neat. And they're like, okay, well, we gotta wait until the ocean calms down so we can get you out there tomorrow. And they're like, we don't have time. So they go and they start working on the ship to fix it. And
I think the big thing probably about that is not the idea of the character. I thought the character idea was good. It's more like the fact is like this feels like characters introduced way too late into the film.
Well, it's not only introduced way too late into the movie. It is one of the few character moments that you get in the movie.
Where like, where she and Finn...
I enjoyed it.
When she and Finn kind of bond over that. That was a good scene. Yeah.
I enjoyed it. That's like real conversation. That's real, like, world building. That's getting to know stuff. That's the kind of shit that makes a good fucking movie to me.
It's also like the first time the movie's allowed to breathe since it starts, basically.
Yeah, no, it's basically at this point we're maybe an hour into the movie and it's the first time that it actually, like...
Takes a moment.
Takes a chill pill. Okay, so, So Rey decides to steal a speeder and just go out to over the stormy waters anyway on her own.
Wait, no. Before we get to that, though, they translate the knife, and it's just like an extent of like, where the thing, blah blah blah, MacGuffin sentence, but where the knife,
right,
like where the Wayfinder is, only this knife knows, and she's like, I know what this means, and she grabs the knife, goes off to the cliff where you see the Death Star, and just lines it up perfectly,
dude,
with like along the Death Star, and I'm trying to point this shit out, but it's like, let me get this straight.
No. Let's be clear. The rim of, like, the edge of the knife is etched in a certain way. Like, you know, how a key has ridges?
Yeah.
It has a couple of ridges. And you're like, all right, it's shaped this way. It's a cool design. Fine. She holds it up, lines it up with this outline of part of the wreckage, and then magically just goes whoop and pulls out like this protractor compass thing. And that lines up perfectly with this spot. So I don't know if you've ever held something up like that, but that means that she was not only standing in the exact spot that she was supposed to, but she was holding it the exact distance from her face that she needed to. It is a wildly implausible concept.
Because I can just imagine, like, the other Sith Lords holding the knife, going, like, just at, like, 2 steps to the right, going, I don't know where the fuck this thing is. It is like some douchebag.
Slightly to the left. Lower. No, not that low. Higher. Like,
what
he's telling him,
Palpatine,
like, he's telling him how to hang a painting. Like, just
like, and I want you to make the evil knife and tell you this kind of, like, and I want you to stand in that spot. No, not that spot. Let you know that way.
Basically, yeah.
Like, right, one more. No, too far.
Yeah. So
that's the Robot Chicken bit right there.
So fuck this movie. So this happens, and she's like, all right, I gotta go there. So she goes there on the speeder, and Finn.
Just FYI, we're in the last bar of the battery here.
I thought you had another battery.
I do not.
What the fuck, man?
Do you have your phone on you?
Yes.
Then we'll have to use that.
Good God! I thought you were prepared.
It's charged.
I told you to prepare.
I charged it. I didn't say it's spare battery. I said I charged the current battery.
Oh God. Okay. So oh my God. So Rey just fucking flies out there on the speeder, and Finn is like, we gotta go after her. I don't know why. I don't know why he thought it was necessary. I don't know why he was so worried about her. He was just like, oh, the item's on the ship. I would have been like, oh, she looks like she's getting there all right. We'll wait for her to get back. It'll be fine. That's not what happens. Finn starts freaking out. And he just does this thing where he says, all right, we're going to take another one and go after her, even though it's super dangerous. All right, fine. And she goes out there. She climbs through this cool-looking destroyed thing.
Nostalgia, there's the Emperor's chair.
Right.
What was Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, the Iron Throne. So...
the symbolism chair.
So, yeah, this happens. And this door magically opens to her left. And she's oh no, I gotta step into the darkness. It's like that one part in the Neverending Story where he steps into the dark mirror. So she steps into the darkness, the door closes behind her, and then that's where the infamous shot of her with the double red lightsaber pops up.
Switchblade lightsaber.
And it's her, but it's her dark version, and she's fighting it for a second, and then it does this scary face at her, like, rah, and she falls backwards, and she gets the Wayfinder, and she goes outside, and Kylo Ren's there waiting for her, and it falls out of her hand, and he picks it up and crushes it like a grape.
Oh no!
And then they have another lightsaber battle, which, to be fair,
was a cool fight.
It's definitely one of the best lightsaber battles in the series, if not the best. It is a cool set piece.
It is a pretty cool set piece. I don't know if I go the best
Even
ever.
if some of the sword play in it is wildly impractical and showy, fine. It's a cool fight. I'll give them that. That was a cool fight. And then you have
at least
fucking...
it goes somewhere.
Well, yeah, no, I do like that. And then you have Finn just arriving just in time, and he's like, Rey! Rey, look at me in the middle of this heat of this battle. What are you doing? What is the good of what are you gonna go up and punch Kylo in the middle of a lightsaber battle?
That would be great.
Are you gonna yell at Rey and get her attention just in time for him to cut her in half? Like, what are you doing? What is your plan? Are you that fucking stupid? This is some Star-Lord punch idiocy. Like, this is straight up a bad idea. There is no point to anything that he's doing here. It's just him being stupid and scared and chasing after this woman that, for all intents and purposes, really just does not want to fucking talk to him while she's figuring her shit out for the duration of this movie. So that's great.
That being said, I would love to know if, like, just out of nowhere, Finn, like, it's like, do, pew.
Yeah.
Like,
so, okay, what happens here? Carrie Fisher somehow, I guess, detects through the Force that they're fighting, and she's worried about what's gonna happen, so she goes off and decides that she's going to talk to Kylo.
One last shot at Rick.
One last time, and I guess, you know, sure.
Like, it was one of the betterly done scenes.
Luke projected himself across the galaxy and did this whole show and had this whole battle and fight, and that was too much, and that's what took him out, and he faded out. Okay, what takes Carrie Fisher out is she talks to Kylo for 2 sentences. She just projects her words into his head, and then dies.
Yeah.
And this is a scene where you do not see her face.
No.
You do not see her face.
And her character motivation is described by another character.
Yeah. It's and I don't know how that character knows what's going on. I don't know how Force sensitive she is, but okay. Whatever.
The more I'm talking about this movie, the more I feel defeated.
There's more problems to be had. So she talks to him, I guess, to give Rey the opportunity to kill him.
But it's okay, because
I don't know what your goal is, Carrie.
She gives him like a Force Band-Aid, and he's okay.
Well, I won't say Carrie, because, like, you know, she's dead. This wasn't her choice.
Yeah.
But I don't know what Leia's goal is here. I don't know what Leia's... I guess it was to kill her son. Because he can't be saved anymore. Fine. So she distracts him, and Rey shanks his ass.
Yeah.
And then... oh yeah, and she stabs him with his own sword, which I guess is meant to be a poetic callback to the way that he stabbed his own father with that same lightsaber by distracting him with his love. So now he gets distracted by his mother's love, and he gets stabbed with that sword on a strangely walkway-looking thing. It's like it rhymes.
Thank you for explaining that to me.
It's subtle. And to be fair, not the worst thing.
No, and like of all the plot lines the movie
not the worst thing.
This movie has, like, the one I thought was done.
It would be good if the rest was good.
I agree. No, like,
I can't.
Like, let me be clear. I agree. Now, like, I'm giving credit due. Like, all the plot lines this movie has, I thought Kylo's redemption was one of the betterly done.
Kylo's arc in this movie is actually some way decent, and somehow it's decent in comparison to the rest of the movie, but compared to, like, what it should have been, it's still not great.
It also feels like the only thing that all movies in one way or another feel like it was trying to go for.
Yeah.
But not necessarily they all lead to the same conclusion, but at least they all, like, were pulling that thread one way or another.
Sure. Okay, so. From there. Rey then realizes that she doesn't want to kill this dude, and she heals him with the power of the Force. And then steals his ship and flies off.
Yeah.
Kylo has, and Finn and the Janna something? It starts with a J.
Yeah.
But Finn and the new girl get picked up by the, I think it's the Millennium Falcon? Yeah, they get picked up and they decide they need to fly off and take care of things. Okay, cool. So Kylo is left there, I guess in the middle of the ocean to die.
It's okay, he's fine.
She saved him so he could starve to death.
He gets rescued by Han Solo Ghost.
Sure, but yeah, so he has this moment where he sees his father, and initially I thought this was like, oh god, come on, because it was like, oh,
fan servicey thing, yeah.
But
at least it served a story purpose.
No, I liked this scene.
I agree. No, I liked it too, and I'm agreeing with you.
And the reason I liked it is because I did not like how Han died in The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
I didn't like how that came about. It was too predictable. It was too drawn out. It felt really melodramatic. And it felt like it didn't actually carry the weight that it needed to. But this recontextualized it and actually gave that scene more weight. And I like how it was a direct replication of that scene, but it meant more because this time it actually got through to him.
Yeah.
And it made Han's death actually mean something.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciated that. I did appreciate that a lot. Especially because it's the one thing in this movie that felt like they planned ahead for it.
Yeah.
And
like,
I like it.
like, that's the reason it kind of works, is the fact that, like, all 3 movies have some connection with Kylo's redemption arc in some capacity.
No, but I mean, just the fact that they just reproduced his lines from that original scene.
That's true.
It felt like they planned that scene to mean this later. It's the only thing that feels
works.
like it was planned that well. And I wanted more of that. I wanted a lot more of that. Even if there was a moment there where there was a very slight callback to "I love you, I know."
Yeah, I caught that too. I was like, that was kind of eye rolling.
That was the moment in there where I'm like, "Don't ruin this. This is like the one thing you're actually doing well here."
But no fan service.
So yeah, that happens, and Kylo throws his lightsaber into the ocean. Well, I guess.
Sure.
I feel like you need that. And later it's proven that he should have kept it because he did need that.
It's okay. It's a John Wick moment later.
Yeah, and Rey flies off to the island that Luke sequestered himself on forever.
Yes.
And decides that she's going to keep herself there because she realizes that she's giving into the dark side and she's scared of what she'll become and she's going to do what Luke did. And this scene quite directly... quite directly just shits on The Last Jedi in multiple ways.
Well, here's the thing about this movie, I know what you're talking about. In fact, the way it's framed, it feels like a direct rebuke of Last Jedi, but it's like, if this scene needed a rebuke that way, I feel like you missed the point of The Last Jedi. The whole point of The Last Jedi is, like, Luke was always wrong.
No, it's not. No, I'm not saying the point where he said I was wrong.
Oh, okay,
because that's what he realizes. The whole point of The Last Jedi was that he realizes he was wrong.
Yeah.
And it's where he says things like, you know, in The Last Jedi, some of the things he said, like, to think that the Force dies when the Jedi die is vanity.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that shit. And now he's saying this stuff like the importance of being a Jedi. Mm-hmm. And saying, you are the Jedi. All the 1,000 generations live in you. Like, it's this weird... I don't know, it's just really weird. And, oh yeah, and in the quarters battle, it's revealed... we totally forgot the big reveal.
Oh yeah, Palpatine.
Yeah, so Rey
the granddaughter Palpatine.
Yeah, Rey is the granddaughter of Palpatine.
Which, let's talk about that for a moment.
Let's talk about that for a minute. Because, first off, unnecessary.
Yeah.
Unnecessary. There is no reason. It does not impact the rest of the plot at all. It just means that Rey is not special on her own. Rey is not just Force sensitive and awesome because she is that because Palpatine. Because this fucking old Force dude, and it is quite obviously shoehorned in there because there were people who wanted her lineage to be special. And it destroys that really significant, amazing moment that not only made her special as an independent character, but made it apparent that you don't need bloodlines to be amazing in the Force. It's not about midichlorians.
People. That's like the whole point.
Yes, it is absolutely about balance. And
which is really saying that of all the things Freddie Prinze Jr. can nail on the fucking head.
Oh man, that rant is... I don't agree with all of it, but I really love just the sheer fuck you nature of it. I do love it because it is some tough love for a lot of people who are just like, but this is my thing. And he's like, no.
You're wrong.
It's not a fucking video game. Like, it's not... All this shit has fucked people up on how they think the Force works. And I know George Lucas himself has been kind of inconsistent over the years on what is canon and what is not. For fuck's sakes. He said Force Unleashed was canon.
Yeah, he did.
He said, yeah, no, Vader had a secret repentance, and I endorse this officially. And no. So
it is a fun video game, though.
Sure, okay.
It's fun to just, like, hold stormtroopers over this and, like, drop them.
Sure, no, the Havoc engine is a great thing. But how about that extra DLC where he kills Chewie and Han?
Oh, yeah, like when he's, like, an alternate ending thing.
Yeah. So... Anyway, she's Palpatine's granddaughter, and apparently Palpatine had a secret son.
Which means I have to think about Palpatine getting laid, which is the image I just don't want.
A lot of people have that problem. Here's one thing.
Sorry.
Palpatine was how old in The Phantom Menace?
Sorry, no, I'm just thinking, good.
Do it.
You want
Stop it.
this,
No, stop it. Stop it.
Now feel
shut the fuck up. So aside from the fact that he was that old when the original, like, the prequels happened, when did he have his son? How old was his son when he had Rey? And, cause fucking Kylo is older than Rey. And Leia was born at the end of the prequel trilogy.
Unlimited.
Shut the fuck up. And I don't know. All I'm saying, the timeline's fucky. And on top of that, I honestly would have loved to see a whole movie just about Rey's backstory with Palpatine, but they just gloss over it. That's the main thing that makes this feel shoehorned in. They just gloss over it like, oh yeah, I had a secret son and they tried to hide you because I knew you'd be powerful, and so I killed your parents, but they hid you so I wouldn't find you. And I've known that your power would grow at this point, so I've had this long con to fight you in a giant lightning battle where you die and are resurrected by all the voices of your old friends. And, you know, basically Harry Potter. It's Harry Potter.
Sorry, one more.
Palpatine is... Shut the fuck up. Harry Potter.
That was my last one.
Palpatine is Voldemort in this.
Yeah.
Did you not see that?
No, I wasn't really paying attention.
Even the big, crazy, stupid twist that doesn't make sense or fit in the plot, J.J. Abrams has to basically steal wholesale from another gigantic series. So, J.J., do better, man. And honestly, at this point, fuck you. You need to earn forgiveness. I know that, oh, you're super successful and I don't give a shit. I know you can do better. Do better. Try harder. This was awful. It doesn't make sense. So this whole thing happens, and she's freaked out because of this is where she comes from. That's why she's so paranoid about turning to the dark side. She goes to the planet. Luke gives her this whole pep talk, and she's like, okay, I'm gonna go to Exegol, because I just know where it is now.
Sure. Well, cause she has the way.
Yeah, no, she has the wayfinder from the because it's in his TIE fighter.
Yeah.
But then I forget how the rest of them find it.
They fall like the.
Oh yeah, she sends them coordinates as she's flying towards
the old like the X-wing.
Yeah, she takes Luke's old X-wing because. Fan service, and
at least that was teased in the last movie.
I know, but I guess it makes sense. Sure, I'm sure it's working fine after decades of being underwater.
I have a handle on Yoda Swamp, you know.
She's fine. So she flies off to Exegol, and this is where the real stupid happens. Because this is where the movie kicks into high gear and is like, all right, all this exciting stuff is going to happen. What are we going to do? And it cashes in all of its chips. And this cuts between two scenes. This cuts between Rey's fight with Palpatine down in the throne room, surrounded by thousands of Sith cult members. Basically, it looks like some fucking demonic ritual. Like anything you've seen of some Illuminati ritual in some other stupid show.
Yeah.
This looks like that.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, you have... the remains of the Rebel fleet coming in. Poe and Finn had this whole, I need you moment, and we're gonna lead this together. And they give a pep talk to everybody about protecting what they care about. And that actually kind of worked for me because it showed that Poe actually finally realizes what's important.
Yeah, kind of completing his character arc from the last movie. Yeah.
And that's what should have happened. That's what The Last Jedi set in motion that was so fucking good, and it actually, at least had one scene that ties that up. Great. So they do that, And they decide that they're going to go and destroy this beacon that is transmitting whatever the rallying signal to all of the rest of them, which comes with a siren. It's like,
hey,
can they hear?
I'm here. Shoot me.
But can they hear this?
I don't know.
Why is the siren playing on the ground in the pyramid? Why? They can't hear this in the Star Destroyers. Is it what's playing in the Star Destroyers?
It's on all the stations.
What is this?
Oh, there we go.
All right. All right. Cool.
Okay. So we ran out of battery in the camera.
So yeah, the siren's going off. The Star Destroyers are all gathered, and oh yeah, somewhere along the way they used the planet killer on one of them to destroy the planet that Poe cared about. But the one person on that planet that people cared about, as well as the little cute merchandising opportunity dude, they survived because, I don't know, even though it was plainly stated that they had no way off the planet, they survive. Sure. And this is how they find out that, oh, that Star Destroyer has a planet killer. All of these things have planet killers. Okay, sure. That's how you figure that out. Okay.
Sure. Makes sense.
So
all moons are Star Destroyers.
Oh God. So final battle.
We're just both so tired.
I am, but this is the problem is this is also the most exhausting part of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
In
many ways.
This okay, so let's talk about, this is gonna go back and forth between the two scenes. And honestly, the scene up in the air, pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. I liked it when they landed on the Star Destroyer and actually opened the bay, and they came riding out on these fucking warthog horse things.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool moment.
Again, Horizon Zero Dawn vibes, super cool. The lady is able to take out some of these fucking guys with her bow and arrow. It was neat. Not the most practical, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah. It's very Star Wars at the very least. Very
yeah, it was a good time. So, this happens. But yeah, they're first going towards the antenna on the ground to take it out so that it can disrupt the signal that's going to tell all the Star Destroyers in the fleet what to do, because I don't know how they know this. I don't know how they know this will work. They just do. This is what's going to happen. So they do that. But on their way there, Christopher Walken Nazi, is like, oh, they're trying to disrupt the signal. We'll make it come from this ship. And it starts coming from that ship, and Finn, using his vague force sensitivity, realizes, oh wait, it's coming from there now. We need to take that out. And they're like, what is it? What how do you know? He says, a feeling. So they start flying toward that. They land on it. They do the cool thing where they let the horse hogs out. And there's a really cool sequence where on the hull of the ship, they're fighting against the First Order troops. This is a really cool sequence. I really enjoyed it. They drop a bunch of grenades into a hatch, which blows up the things leading to the antenna.
Yeah,
the antenna doesn't blow up, but, you know, they drop these things in there and it powers down. And the next second, Poe flies by it and is like, it's down. Why didn't Poe just shoot the antenna?
Well, because then he wouldn't be able to get to see the thing.
Why didn't Poe just shoot the antenna? So they decide they're going to stay on the ship to try to take it down. And Finn tells Rose to go, which, you know, it's like her third appearance in the movie, fine. But they realize that they have to start taking these Star Destroyers down anyway. So they start fighting in the air and everything. Now, Rey on the ground is... I'm gonna need your help, man. I'm really like, I'm just really fucking...
I'm trying to remember it too, so...
Rey goes in and Palpatine basically tells her that she is the inheritor of the Sith legacy, And
basically he wants
her to kill him so that all of his power and spirit can flow into her, and she will be the Sith reborn.
Yes, basically. Basically like, kill me and I will possess your body. It's basically the shorthand.
Yeah, and so there's one point where he opens this gigantic ceiling, which, like, this chamber is hundreds of feet tall. And he's like,
yeah, he does do the sky beam.
He's like, but look, no. He's like, but look, your friends are all dying. So to save them, you must kill me and take my power. Because I guess what happens is that she's going to kill him. And the temptation is that she can kill him so she can have the authority to make them stand down from killing her friends, which will make mean that let them finish.
While he's explaining, he's like, but you'll be all the Sith, you'll be really evil, but you'll care just enough to save your friends.
Yeah, it's a weird moment, and it's not even really turning her to the dark side. It's just being like, your friends are my hostages now. And it's bad. But they get to the point where, and Kylo just suddenly lands out there and appears and tries to run in. And he runs into the Knights of Ren, his dudes, who are apparently now serving Palpatine.
And weren't they kind of always?
Were they?
Because I think weren't they, like, that's what who were in, like, the beginning of the movie with the snow clones, weren't they?
No, man, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. It wasn't established well. They just showed up in a couple of shots, and then suddenly they're trying to kill Kylo, and she senses him. And he senses her. Oh, yeah. Rey took Luke's original lightsaber with her because that's significant.
Oh, no. Luke and Leia's lightsabers.
Oh, yeah. So she goes off and has 2 lightsabers. And so she does the whole Force handoff thing because she realizes Kylo needs help. And she reaches behind her head with the lightsaber and goes, "It's gone. Magic." And Kylo's like, "I have a lightsaber now." And
I thought it was kind of cool.
It was a cool moment, but these badass villains that have been undeveloped and just look cool and intimidating and have been following our crew around the galaxy for the whole movie, it gets slaughtered in like half a minute.
That's true.
So that's done. Okay. So that happens, and Kylo joins her to fight Palpatine, and you know, they're standing side by side, ready to fight the darkness. And it's kind of cool, because at this point, Kylo knows who he is and what he wants to do. I like that.
Yeah.
That means his parents' sacrifices, or at least his dad's, his mom just tried to murder him, it was not in vain. He's reached his redemption arc. Thank you. Cool. But Palpatine basically goes like, well, instead of living on in you, I'm just going to swallow your soul! And literally just goes like this and sucks their life out of them like a fucking dementor. And
well, wasn't like you sucking the life, like the force bond or whatever? It's like the whole thing.
Their bond will feed him and resurrect him. So he's this creepy zombie with like a missing finger and shit, but he sucks the life out of him. They collapse onto the ground and he regrows his flesh and he's like, I live.
I'm beautiful.
And I don't know if he doesn't detach from his GLaDOS thing or anything, I think.
Does he? I think he does.
Something. I don't fucking know, dude. This movie is so bad. But at this point, he does this, and then was this before or after the lightning beam?
No.
After.
No, wait. No,
it's before.
Yeah, it was before, because he does the lightning
and
beam.
He sucks in the power, and he's like, now all your friends will die. And he shoots this gigantic lightning bolt storm directly into the sky.
Like this OP fan fiction bullshit.
Yeah, it just goes up in the sky, and then branches out to start taking out the electrical systems on all of the rebel ships. Now, keep in mind, one, I guess he has the focus to know where every single rebel ship is, because he's super Sith man now. And his lightning bolts are only taking out those ships, and everyone starts... Oh, wait, no, sorry, we forgot.
What did we forget?
They thought they succeeded in the sky. They thought they succeeded, but they didn't. And their friends are dying. And basically, there's just a few of them left. Yeah. And they're like, "Oh no! I thought we like Poe is basically giving up. He says, I thought we had a chance. And you hear Lando go like, we still have a chance, or some shit like that. And it cut to the awesome shot of all of the rebel, like, apparently, Lando was able to corral hundreds of fucking ships from around the galaxy.
Well, he did learn from Luke Skywalker during their personal adventures.
But he's able to corral all these ships from around the galaxy in the short period of time that they have to all jump to this secret location and be ready to fight for the final battle.
But not only do that, but know exactly the right sequence in which to jump to get there.
Of course.
Yep.
Never mind how hard it was for one ship to make it through there. Just all of these at once. But here's the thing. Not only do they, like, they all do it at the same time. It's not like, you know, they were arriving piece by piece and slowly the tide of the battle turned.
They're just all there.
They were just waiting. It's like, the rebel forces are dying. This is a battle with the stake of the the stakes are the fucking fate of the galaxy.
Well, they had to finish their chess game first.
No. Like, it's basically, what? Did they all wait and they're like, wait, we got to do the big reveal together. It's like, wait, but Poe might be dying right now. It's like, I know, but Carl stopped for Starbucks and we got to wait for his ass now. We can't go as, like, individuals.
Like, God damn it, Carl. We do this every fucking time.
It's like, Carl!
So he turns to the walkie.
You and your fucking ristretto shots, Carl.
Carl! Stand back!
But so they just show up in this shot that looks cool, but makes no sense. It makes no sense. It is inconsistent with everything. And this is like the second time in the movie that Lando has shown up.
Yeah.
I don't know where he went. Well, no, I guess he was pulling together these forces. But yeah,
the third time he was in the little roundabout scene where they're talking about the Death Star.
Oh, great. Okay, third scene. So he shows up and Deus Ex Machina. All hope is lost. But no, all hope is not lost. And they come in and they start fighting. They start turning the tide of battle. And then fucking the Emperor does the laser beam into the sky of lightning. And oh, all hope is lost again.
But it's okay because Iron Man flies into the portal made by the sky beam.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
So that happens. And meanwhile, Rey's knocked down, and she reaches out with the Force to, like, hear all the other forces of the Jedi.
Oh, no. Like, Rey is on the... Now, see, I don't know if they were supposed to be dead.
I think they're supposed to be dead.
They were supposed to be dead, I think. But
Palpatine just kind of pushes Ben, Ben...
Oh, yeah, Kylo comes to life for a second, and Palpatine's like, you suck, and blows him away into a fucking chasm.
Yeah.
And Kylo just flies down into the abyss. All right, Kylo's dead again. And then Rey comes back to life just enough to see all of her friends fucking falling out of the sky. But
not before you get the fan
service. She starts she's basically given up, and it slowly zooms out beyond the fight, beyond the clouds, into the veil of the sky. And you get to hear just this whole stack of characters from throughout the whole series.
Yep.
Ultimate fan service moment.
Yep.
Some people thought this was cool. I thought it was hokey as fuck. Again, Harry Potter.
It was cool to hear Sam Jackson in there, though.
Sure, fine.
I was like, I would love it if it's all Sam Jackson. He goes,
"Get up, motherfucker!"
And I was like, "Oh, this bitch again!" You know, if it wasn't for that pansy Anakin, I would have killed this asshole a long time ago.
Yeah, right. It's like, oh, he's fucking still at this shit.
That's been how long?
Yeah, it's not with the lightning again. But yeah, so okay.
That's his one move. He has
not to mention, how many times has Palpatine's lightning been turned on him?
I know. Like, well, twice, exactly twice.
Wasn't it kind of also turned on him in Jedi?
Not really. It was more like
he just got thrown down.
He was more like Darth Vader decided not to give a fuck.
Okay, sure. So this happens, and Rey comes back up, and she takes out her lightsaber, and he's like, you must die, and starts focusing his Force lightning on her. So even though he's taking out all these things in the sky, I guess the message is that she's so amazing that she can withstand this on her own with her lightsaber. And they're kind of standing, doing the whole Dragon Ball Z battle.
But then she harnesses the power of the X-Men.
But then the secret ingredient...
Like the Magneto from the Apocalypse.
Well, you know what's better than fighting... You know what is an important factor in this is not her Force powers. It's two lightsabers. She takes out the other lightsaber, does the X with them, and is like, ah!
That is such 5-year-old logic.
It is so stupid. And she's going towards him, and he says some shit like, I am all the Sith. And it seriously does the Endgame moment.
Yeah,
where it goes towards her.
the exact same
And in my
thing.
head, I'm like, I know exactly what you're going to say, and I fucking hate it. And she said, I am all the Jedi. And reflects his lightning back at him. And instead of, stopping the lightning, he obliterates himself in a weirdly graphic moment. Because the flesh rips away from his skin, from his bones. Like, it's just... It's like watching it's the graphicness of the death they wanted to give Kim Jong-un in the interview, and they were forced to tone down, but put into like a PG-13 movie. It's pretty bad.
Well, that's an obscure reference to throw on there now.
I don't know. I don't care anymore. I remember random things. Okay, so she fucking does this thing where she obliterates him, and all the ships are able to come back, and they start taking out all the fucking Star Destroyers, and yay, we win. And the force of this kills Rey again. She collapses from sheer exhaustion and dies. And
then we get the real fanficky part of this.
And then it does the slow pan down, because this movie could have made a really bold, intense statement there, but we're not finished, because Kylo Ren, fucking like a zombie out of the pit, his hand comes out of the chasm, because, people falling into chasms is not really apparently a thing that really does them in Star Wars movies.
I was thinking of you go obscure references. Yukon Cornelius in and all the red-nosed reindeer. Bubbles bounce.
Seasonal. Okay,
so he just bounces on the chasm like a fucking trampoline.
Okay, so how many characters have done this? Fucking Palpatine himself, Darth Vader, fucking Luke Skywalker. Like, how many of these characters have supposedly been left to their complete death, just like...
Well, you can say it rhymes.
It rhymes. So then Kylo comes out and holds her, and he's like, no, oh no. And he uses, apparently, the force heal trick that he learned from her. Sure. I guess he just knows it now.
As you do. Yeah.
But, I'll let that pass, because it's the force. It does what you feel like you need to do. It manifests itself in a certain way. I can buy that. So he puts all of his life force into bringing her back, and she comes back, and they make eye contact, and she realizes that he's not Kylo anymore. He's Ben. And
they kiss.
I
didn't like it either. Like,
you've seen this man do unspeakable things. He's been trying to murder all of you. He has been manipulating you. He is the big bad of the series. And I know you've known that inside of him there's been this boy and this good person, and he's finally come out. You know what, it would have been a good fucking... a hug. Yeah. A hug would have made sense. But... this is not a moment for, like, I'm attracted to you. This is not a sexy thing. It doesn't make sense. Yep. It's a fucking terrible moment. And there are people who are like, it was fine, but I also know other people, like, I spoke to one friend, and she's like, my boyfriend had to cover my mouth because I was screaming at the screen.
I saw that screen.
And I'm like... Yeah,
I think a fair part of that scene.
I'm on your side, girl.
Was when they started kissing, they got this like really pathetic like smattering of applause from my audience, and then it was really sad. It was like 3 people, and then when like 3 seconds later, when like Ben Solo disappears, there was one guy going.
Right. No. But okay. So they kiss, and my reaction, like there have been moments in this movie where I'm turning to my girlfriend like this. And she's like, I know. But when this moment happens, she takes off her fucking 3D glasses. And I'm just doing this like, kill me. So
what you're saying is...
And then Kylo Ren dies again. but for real this time, because then he fades out. And when I look, if you see Screen Rat's pinch meeting for this, he's like, all right, so she does the thing where she brings him back to life too, right? And he's like, no, she just lets him die. And he's like, oh, savage. Absolutely. Like, okay, like, why didn't Cloud use a Phoenix down on Eris? I don't know. It has dramatic effect. So, so Kylo finally dies, and they're done. The rebellion wins, and they say, like, what's happening out there? And I don't know how they know this, but they're like, people all over the galaxy are rising up, and okay. And it has this sequence of hard fan service where, like, it's egregious. Maybe if they'd shown a bunch of different planets, I might feel differently. But they show Endor, Bespin, and fucking Tatooine.
Fucking
from the planets, the original three from, like, one from each of the original three in the original trilogy. Fuck the prequels, you know, fuck Naboo or Coruscant or any of those fucking places. Just...
what are the Gungans up to, I wonder?
Oh, I don't know. Probably, you know, extinction.
Jar Jar just enjoying just a great extended retirement.
But straight up, it goes to the surfaces of these planets and shows, like, people looking up happy that the Star Destroyers that are over their planets, I don't know why the individual Star Destroyers made it out just to those planets, and I don't know what they were waiting for, and I don't know who's fighting these people, but apparently it's all fine. They're all blowing up at the same time because, you know, people rose up because they were inspired or something. It's fucking garbage. It doesn't work. None of this fucking makes sense. None of this makes sense. It's so again, it's just showing you things because, like, oh, this would be nice. Let's not worry about putting it together in any way that fucking makes sense. Let's just put it there because, oh, wouldn't it be nice if they just, you know, the rebellion spread throughout the galaxy and we took out all the Star Destroyers that made it out, even though the fleet was stuck here, and that was the point. But it's fuck this movie. So this happens, and then they have the final sequence where it's everyone at the rebellion base. And they're all celebrating.
Everyone's doing the yub-nubs, you know.
Everyone's just hugging and very happy to see each other. And Rey sees Finn and acts happy to see him for the first time in the movie. And Rose is there somewhere for a moment. There are two women who kiss for a 2-second shot. And there's your representation that we can edit out for foreign audiences. Yeah. Which could have easily been Poe and Finn. Like,
what would have been amazing.
It would have been great if you're like, hey, these two characters who have had this chemistry the whole time, had this kind of tit for tat thing. They even say we need each other in this movie. If you had them be like the gay kiss and have the two of the main characters be like gay leads, that would be amazing, and also still easy to edit out for foreign audiences.
Yeah.
But you're fucking cowards.
Meanwhile, Disney can just sip on angry fanboy tears the entire time.
And oh yeah, by the way, they gave Chewie his medal because they didn't give it to him.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
And there was a moment.
That part was like, oh, for the love of God.
Honestly, when I first saw that, I was like, oh, they gave him the medal, and then later I was like,
they gave him the medal.
So fucking manipulative. Yeah. There wasn't a ceremony happening. Yeah. It wasn't in front of everybody to honor him. They didn't give all of them medals and also him a medal. They were just like, oh, by the way, remember this thing? Here.
I remember.
and then, like in the far pan out of the shot, it's got Chewie showing it to 3PO and being like, hey, I got it. Look, I got the thing. And
it's so dumb.
It's just this final fucking celebration sequence. But then we get to the last scene. Mm-hmm. The last scene, because we have to make this come full circle and reference back to New Hope.
Goddamn references.
Because we can't have these characters live on their own.
No, God forbid.
And God knows we just killed the last Skywalker. So what's the title of this movie mean? And I'll tell you, I saw it coming the moment this scene started, and I said, this is going to be that stupid. And this is how they're going to play it. And I was right. Because she goes back, she finds Luke's original farm, and, you know, minus the smoldering corpses. And And she's there, and she, you know, gets a piece of scrap metal and sleds down the sand.
Which is kind of cute.
It is kind of cute. But, you know, she's just seeing where Luke came from. And she goes up and she force buries Luke and Leia's lightsabers into the sand real deep. And she's got her own new lightsaber, which is yellow, her own color. Cool. Although from what I know about Jedi lore, it's really a rite of passage and a real, you know, it's not easy to come up with the things you need to build a lightsaber.
Not really,
It's a rite of passage, so we're just gonna gloss over that.
I'm sure there'll be a book about it.
She just has this, and
there will be a book.
There's some random old lady walking through the desert, and she's like, "Hey, you! No one's been around here for a long time.
I don't even know why I'm here.
Who are you?" And she says, "I'm Rey." She's like, "What's your last name?" Because that's just things old people ask people now.
Coffee McCure.
And she thinks about the fact that she's a Palpatine. She's like, "Oh." And then she looks off into the distance and she sees the ghosts of Luke and Leia standing there looking at her affectionately. And
she don't have anything better to do.
And she's got this long pause where she looks back and the camera angle looks at her heroically and she says, "Rey Skywalker." Dun, 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 and it's fucking, that's the end. And it was such a fucking corny line. It isn't
like abnormal for Star Wars, to be fair.
Fine, but it's got this air of like, it's so self-satisfied.
Yeah, like it's self-importance.
It's this whole thing with like, you know what we're going to do and it's what you want us to do, isn't it? You're gonna love this. Wait until we do it for you. But we're gonna take our time building to it like there's some kind of mystery. Because we love mysteries, but it's not a mystery. We're just gonna, And, oh yeah, by the way, Abrams confirmed in a Q&A that the thing that Finn meant to tell Rey was that he's force sensitive.
Yay. Hooray.
That's the mystery box. That's the big mystery. That's what's gonna make you so happy.
Buddy, are you okay?
No. There's no reason for that to be a mystery box. That's not a big, like, it's not, like, there's a difference between having a mystery in a movie that is significant and important, and the reveal is this big thing, and it's interesting, but not only were the reveals in this movie fucking stupid and contrived and unnecessary, the things that were kept a mystery were pointless. It didn't work. This is how the Skywalker saga ends. And and I have to say, because I put this together, because you need to understand the way that I know we broke down that last battle scene, but really think about how this played out. Think about how many major moments of all hope is lost, all hope is regained happen in this sequence. Leaving aside the whole, oh, everyone came out of nowhere to save our asses. Oh no, they're all falling out of the sky. Never mind, they're okay, we're winning. Leaving that alone, the sequence of events in the fight on the ground is Ben's dead, Rey's dead, Rey's not dead, Palpatine is dead, Rey's dead, Ben's not dead, Rey's not dead, kiss, okay, Ben's really dead.
Well, when you put it like that.
No, that's how, like,
yeah.
Okay, how is a character death supposed to really impact you if you've tried to have that impact 5 times in the past 10 minutes and gone, lol, JK. Like, it fucking sucks. It's fucking awful. It is manipulative. It's unearned. There's no actual proper character development for anybody other than maybe fucking Ben. And Poe comes around near the end of the movie. He comes into his own when he needs to take responsibility for the fleet. And I guess Rey is freaked out about becoming evil, and then is not. That's not character development. Those are beats to follow.
Yeah.
The character doesn't evolve. There's no actual real conversations that happen. Like, there's a couple moments.
It's all there just to push the plot forward. Now the characters are allowed to breathe. No one has any real conversations. No one talks about what they're feeling or what they're thinking.
I am legit reminded of the last season of Game of Thrones.
No, they have a lot in common.
It really is just, we had these story beats we wanted to hit. We thought this would be a shocking moment.
Yeah.
And it just, it's not earned, it's not built to.
No one took the time to stop and realize, again, like we mentioned earlier, it's like, where the characters were at by the time Last Jedi wrapped up, whether you liked it or not, was not where this was going.
The only thing in this movie that really is left over from The Last Jedi and even addressed is when she goes back to the island where Luke was. And really...
But then the Force bond, I would argue. Huh?
Sure, the Force bond. Okay, there's that. But I would say like 90% of the shit from The Last Jedi, it's like this movie pretends it didn't happen.
Yeah, basically.
It really is like they're just trying to have this be its own thing. Like, if you just look at this as The Force Awakens and then The Rise of Skywalker, it's a cohesive movie that's really not that good. It's kind of a fucking mess all the way through. It's bland. It's hollow. The character beats are just like, you care about these people because they exist. The only thing in this trilogy that has real substance and real writing and real character moments and conversations is The Last Jedi. And I know a lot of people fucking hate that movie. And maybe they'll love this movie because they hate that movie. But I fucking love that movie. And this movie not only shits all over it, it's a terribly made movie in comparison.
See, and like a lot of people, at least people I've read, hate The Last Jedi, also hate this movie, and it makes me laugh. It's like...
At least there's that.
I know, like, I was noticing, he was like, has anyone else noticed that the hatred on The Last Jedi has gone down significantly since Rise of Skywalker came out? Because we're all, oddly enough, on the same page on that one.
I don't know.
We found our middle ground at last.
I've got a lot of people who really, really love this movie, and I don't get it.
I don't get it
at all.
I don't get it either, but it's like, if you like it, I'm not going to hold it against you unless you like...
Here's the thing. There's a difference between liking something and thinking it's a good movie. I will not fault you for enjoying this movie. If you're able to let this shit slide and just enjoy the cool, flashy shit, great. Enjoy. But if you think this is legit like a better movie than The Last Jedi, if you think that the way the plot is constructed is good and well-paced and well-written, and that it makes sense, and that the character decisions make sense, and that, like, there's... I can't.
I felt that way about Venom. But I think I'm feeling that perception.
No, Venom's a trashy movie, but I enjoyed the shit out of it.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if some people try to defend the movie as like objectively good, I'm like, it's not. It's really not.
It's not a good movie.
And I feel like everyone that perception kind of changed in that direction over time, and I feel like it's gonna happen with this movie too.
Yeah.
Just like the new Justice League. The only one that hasn't really changed with is Last Jedi, where it's always like either you love it or hate it.
I'm gonna go see Cats at least 2 more times in theaters with friends because they need to see this monstrosity, and it's a trip. It's a terrible movie.
Watch Cats again.
It's a terrible movie. It is not a good movie, but it is at least such a bewilderingly ridiculous and fun thing that I would rather go see that 2 more times. And you saw our fucking reactions to that. I would rather see that 2 more times than go see this again.
I will
never touch this movie again.
I will probably go with you to go see Cats again.
I will. Come along. We're having like this. We're having Catsmas, where we're gonna have a group outing to see. I'm going to subject a dozen of my friends to Cats at the same time.
All go, like, hopefully no one else shows up.
No, there are 4 seats in the very back that have been purchased, but other than that, it's just a block of 12 seats in the dead center. That's us.
I'm trying to talk Matt. Trying to talk Matt into going.
Do it, man.
Where he's like, because he already saw Cats already. He's like, should I really see Cats where I see Star Wars once? And I just responded, like, where's my honor, Michael? And I said, do you want to be a Jellicle cat or not?
So, I'd rather see Cats a couple more times than see this again.
To be fair, Cats was a special experience.
It's a special experience. It's interesting. It's fun. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. And it's unbearable to watch at times, but there's this weird point you reach where you're like,
never.
I think I get this. I think this has sunk in, and I think I've been God help me, I think I'm enjoying this. And, you know, you just can't help, even though at the very end of the movie, you're like, I need this to end. Yeah, this movie was more painful to sit through because there were so many frustrating decisions made. And at least in Cats, the only frustrating decision really is
the whole movie.
You know, the design choices. McCavity! We're just going to talk about Cats for the rest of us now. But yeah, Rise of Skywalker, front to back.
Cats has sat with me a lot more than Skywalker.
Yeah, no, front to back. I hated this movie. I hate the what it's done to, like, on an ethical front. I hate that they've made the relationship between Kylo and Ren just being Kylo trying to manipulate her instead of just trying to talk to her. I hate that she is basically the things that make her special now are because
genetics.
You know, genetics. They take that away. They don't talk about the kids. They fucking erase Rose from the movie. And I know a lot of people that were really happy that they got to see, like, a main character in a Star Wars movie that was, you know, Asian, outside of, you know, Rogue One. But and the thing that bothers me about that it really feels like Abrams went out of his way to capitulate to these fucking, just the hate mob.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to follow through on some ideas and be like, hey, this is how this can actually work. It was like, please don't be mad, give us your money. I know you did some really shitty stuff to the stars of our movie. I know Kelly Tran is terrified to fucking go on social media. Like, she just refuses. Like, the shit that these people did to express their anger is vile.
Yeah.
And they validated it. What Abrams did was he basically said, okay, no, we'll negotiate with terrorists. We're sorry. Give us your money. And they once again put this little bit of fucking gay representation in the movie that can be wiped away. It's there. It's two, unspeaking characters. They're not main characters. They don't have names. They don't have lines. They just smooch. And the shot lasts 2 seconds. It's gone. The overall messaging of this movie is fucked. And, you know, if you want to talk about the wokeness and the SJW-ness of this trilogy up to this point, like, they made some cool moves in the first one, which were a little heavy-handed or whatever. Okay. Some people think that the way that male and female dynamics were in The Last Jedi were all SJW-y.
I just really code for things I don't like.
Well, yeah, I really don't think that's true because the way that Poe acted merited that treatment.
It's all bullshit. It's not a serious thing. Should not be taken seriously.
That's its own argument, but bottom line, this movie goes out of its way to counteract a lot of things that The Last Jedi did, and the fact that it went out of its way to do that, to give fake representation and undo other representation, it bothers me very deeply. And it really, out of everything about this movie, JJ, fuck you for that. Everything about this movie that bothers me the most. And as you've seen over the past, 2 fucking hours, plenty about this movie bothers the hell out of me, but that, most of all, is just deplorable. It's detestable. It's cowardly. And it gives power to people that shouldn't have it by acting a way that they should not be rewarded for acting. And it's gross. I can't. So, aside from being a shit movie, it does that. So fuck this movie entirely, bottom to top. I don't care. Couple cool scenes, fan servicey moments. It was lazy. It was lazy, and it put effort into places where it didn't need to put it. It had whole side plots. The side plot with fucking 3PO having his memory erased, pointless. Pointless. You could have done without that. You could have taken that out and given more time to other things that needed time. You could have given more time to characters to talk and be characters instead of just pieces in a plot being moved around. This was a bad movie. It was badly made. It was badly written. Like, it fucking sucks, and I hate it. I really fucking hate it. So, I could keep ranting, but
I'm sure you could. And
I'm so fucking mad about this movie.
I'm asking this genuinely. Are you okay?
If I wasn't, what would we do?
We can hug it out. I don't know.
No, I don't want to be touched right now.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
I completely understand what you're saying. Like, I don't share your strong hatred. That being said, I completely understand everything you're saying and everywhere you're coming from.
There were pieces of this movie I actually really enjoyed.
Yeah,
there were moments.
It could have been better.
It should have been better. I've tried to do my best throughout this whole review to at least give credit to those moments that I thought were good.
Yeah.
And there were good moments, but good God, this movie's a fucking dumpster fire.
Mm-hmm. And so.
And that's that.
Well, I think I wrapped up this 2-hour review.
Yeah, right. This is probably the longest review we've had since Blade Runner.
Yeah, it's up there. I mean, it was Robin Hood, an hour and a half.
Robin Hood was just an hour.
Robin Hood was only an hour?
It was like an hour 10.
I thought it was longer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well.
So, if you're stuck with us this long, thank you.
Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. I just put up a new editorial just last night that I'm very proud of.
I haven't watched it yet, but I'm excited to see it.
It is a personal thank you to all of you guys.
Oh.
So make sure to watch it when you can, buddy, because it helped maybe be a palate cleanser. I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, that actually might be good to have after this.
Yes. And then the rest of this week's gonna be built on just fucking catching up on shit.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool movies that came out recently. I'm sorry we've missed some of them. But I want to see Uncut Gems, dude.
Is that out yet?
Yeah, it came out like a couple weeks ago.
Oh, is it playing anywhere around here?
We need to find out, because I'm pretty sure that I have a hunch that this will be the last week it's playing in places, because it's.
It could be that cases where it get like 1917 where they do like limited releases for December and then they release it in full like middle of January.
I'm concerned because I really want to see that.
No, I want to see that one too.
I heard really good things. But yeah, we'll try to catch up. It's holidays. It's busy.
Yeah. So that's all we got.
I'm exhausted. This was cathartic because I've been trying not to like rant to my friends online because spoilers. You don't want to go posting spoilers on Facebook because as much as I hate this fucking movie and think it shouldn't exist the way that it does, a lot of people like it. A lot of people are enjoying it. I don't want to ruin it for them. And, it's fine. Enjoy things, even if they're terrible.
So I'm trying to find out where the hell Uncut Gems is. Apparently it's mostly playing indie theaters right now.
We'll figure it out. Anyway, let's cut this off.
Yeah.
I'm done.
I didn't like it. I didn't hate as much as he did, but I feel you're totally justified in your beliefs on that.
I mean, yeah, I believe I expressed my concerns.
I think more than clearly. And I pretty much agree with about like 99% of what you've been saying. So
just not as intensely.
Not as intensely. So like, it's not. Like honestly, I'm kind of sad. I am sad that Ron isn't here to talk about this because he hated Last Jedi. But I feel like he'd agree with. Like, I don't know if he would or not. I'm sure I'll talk about it later.
Sure.
But I feel like these people will find some common ground and not liking.
Rise
of the Skywalker.
This is objectively bad.
Because he already said
there was one person on my Facebook where he said I enjoyed it, and I'm like, but it was terrible. And he said, yeah, no, I agree with all that. And he said, look, I saw it twice and I refunded my ticket for the third time. And basically the conclusion we came to was that he agreed with everything I was saying. He just still was able to get some enjoyment out of the good parts out of it.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I was just angrier than he was. So
fair enough.
I'm like, okay, yeah, no, I feel like we're on the same page here. So
all right. Well,
anyway,
I think that's it. So,
thanks for sticking with us through this fucking disaster. But yeah,
turn this off so I can go get dinner.
See you around.
See you guys later.